And we're off. Big Biscuit is no longer with us anymore. We've moved on. What'd you have this morning? Some sausage medley?
It's Big Biscuit again.
Oh, Big Biscuit. They just removed their trademark from the channel.
They apparently didn't like the implication that me calling them Big Biscuit Gang implied that they might be involved in some untoward activity.
Don't wear gray. That gray and tan. That will align you with biscuits and gravy. Biscuits and gravy. So here's part 2 of our favorites. Once again, it's the favorite 150 films for Nolan and myself. So we left off with The Godfather yesterday, and Nolan surprised us all by not having it.
Wow.
Yeah. So what's next?
The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Got it. Yep.
Basically, this movie of equal beloved, I suppose. The end of the Man with No Name trilogy. Perhaps the finest spaghetti western of all time, if not just outright the best western of all time.
Yeah, it is fantastic.
We really have not talked a lot about westerns on this podcast, primarily because the western as a popular genre has been dead since like the 90s, which I would argue is the point of time that Hollywood killed it with a run of mediocre westerns all in a row. I think quite a few of them are still enjoyed, to the mistake and perhaps regret of the audiences that are enjoying them. But the heyday of the western was pretty much in the 50s, and Sergio Leone flipped westerns on their head, and they were titled spaghetti westerns, primarily due to the fact that they were all being shot in Italy, and Italians apparently like spaghetti, but also because instead of being your run-of-the-mill hero versus villain plot lines, they were about morally dubious characters. You talked about Fistful of Dollars yesterday.
Yeah, I made a faux pas yesterday in labeling Fistful of Dollars. I think it was too early in the morning. My brain wasn't working correctly, but
Brain working.
I wanted to talk about The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly as opposed to Fistful of Dollars. So Fistful of Dollars is a good movie. It's a great movie, but I think it pales in comparison to The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
I even like For a Few Dollars More, the movies sort of in between the two in the trilogy, more than Fistful. Like, I like each one a little more.
Yeah.
Than the one before.
Yeah. So I'm nixing a Fistful of Dollars. I had it on there. Don't make that Clint Eastwood face.
Where's my stogie?
I had it on there when we recorded this a couple years ago, but I think it definitely has kind of like upon rewatching it, it's just doesn't work as well. I'm just waiting for you to just light it up. But yeah, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Like yesterday, I don't know if you caught it, but I was saying the triptych in A Fistful of Dollars, and maybe you were just thinking like, I don't know what he's talking about with that, but that was what I meant for The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, obviously, because you have the good, you have the bad, and you have the ugly against one another.
Yeah, I mean, part of our back and forth on this show does involve me just being mean. And so I didn't want to be mean, just be like, oh, why are you talking about this inferior one when there's this better one?
Well, you weren't mean. You did ask the question, so why do you like it? Because I was just like, oh yeah, it's a great Western. And then I was literally discussing The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly while referring to it as A Fistful of Dollars. Completely different movies, same character, but yeah, I will add a different film in for that one, which is fine.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, I think we'll talk in depth not only about this, about the Man with No Name trilogy, and then westerns versus spaghetti westerns. There's plenty to be talked about in the history of film and the importance of film as an art form within the western genre. But for now, I don't have too much to say about The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly because it is a absolutely beloved classic that I don't need to open the sort of this can of worms at the moment. I mean, perhaps the greatest ending to a movie ever, an epic movie, a hilarious movie, dark, pretty.
Yeah, yeah. The score, fantastic. I'm with you. I don't feel like we need to say too much more about it. If you haven't seen it, strap your boots on and get cracking. I have Goodfellas next.
Yeah, same.
Speaking of beloved films that haven't aged really at all. Yeah, really incredible movie. I always felt like it was a good like Friday night movie with a pizza or with pasta or something like that. It's just hits nostalgia really well. Perfectly cast movie. The editing is some of the best editing in movie making, especially in a Scorsese film. And the effect of the editing is it certainly adds to the experience, the tone of the film. Because you have like whole swaths of the movie that are, you know, Peter dealing with something or like being drug addled, anxiety ridden, but then you also have like scenes where he's in jail, and ironically when he's in jail, those are like some of the more calm parts of the movie because they're like cooking up they're getting the gravy going, they're cooking, they're cutting up the garlic using a little razor. Yeah, the pacing is excellent. I will say that, I mean, I've seen this movie a bunch of times. I don't know how many times you've seen it, probably the same amount, if not more. But
Yeah, a dozen or so.
The ending, we've talked about this quite a bit, but the ending is kind of tough upon rewatch, I would say.
I think the ending is perfect.
It doesn't necessarily feel rushed per se, but it's like, I know that it's meant to be like autobiographical, and it just doesn't quite have that sort of like impact that you would expect. So it's not that it's like anticlimactic. I'm trying to like come up with the words for what I'm thinking.
I mean, this is not a hero's journey. This is not an epic movie. This is a tragedy. And instead of ending the way that we think of like a Shakespearean tragedy with, you know, death and violence and all that, it just sort of ends with a whimper and a thud, because that's what happens when you're a rat and you go into the rat program with the FBI. You just get moved out. And I mean, that's the ending line, right? Egg noodles with ketchup, a facade of the life he once led.
Do they show the egg noodles with ketchup?
No, he just says it.
I need that visual. I didn't like that. I didn't like the voiceover at the end.
I don't know how you could even like this movie at all and not like the ending. To me, it doesn't.
I like the concept of the ending. I don't like the execution.
Yeah.
I need it to be more visual.
I mean, it shows him living in the burbs in the middle of nowhere, being deprived.
I know. I have it shot for shot in my head. This is a really silly like sticking point. Like
I'm all shoulders on this.
It's a really weird thing for me to needle Marty on, but I don't know. I feel like it was 90% of the way there. I'm being overly critical of a great movie. But
yeah, I don't understand that criticism at all, but I'm just gonna blow past it. Goodfellas to me highlights several things really well that you touched on. One of them is like you mentioned that off remembered, you know, scene where he's cutting up the garlic in the prison, and I think that highlights one of the strongest elements of the movie, which is Scorsese's cultural understanding of this type of criminal and the cultural pathology of them having committed a murder or almost having committed a murder and then having dinner with like Scorsese's real life mom, you know, and they're being all cutesy and they have a body in the trunk, up to, you know, the prison where they're cutting the stuff up, and they're just like ruthless sociopaths, but they have this ingrained cultural value. And I think that's the strength of Goodfellas at the whole, is that Scorsese's able to balance the wide-eyed naivete at the beginning of the film for how someone would get involved with wise guys, people who knew something you didn't, and the allure of crime, and then the height of being in crime, all mixed within this cultural understanding that Scorsese's had his whole life. And then the downfall, which is, a cocaine-addled paranoid mess where he's followed by helicopters, and then it just ends with the dud, which you dislike. And
No, I like the idea of it. Like, he settled on the ending. I just wish there was the visual of the egg noodles and ketchup and less voiceover.
it just, the whole movie is voiceover. Whole voiceover in every scene, every single scene. Sometimes to the detriment of the movie, but I guess that's not the part I dislike. Moving on.
It's only something that has bothered me on rewatch, and that take could change. But
I have heard the same. I've heard the same criticism of the end of Casino. I've heard the same criticism of the end of The Wolf of Wall Street. I've even heard a similar criticism to the end of The Departed, which I view to basically all be the same ending to varying degrees. The Departed is a little actually more mean-spirited, but generally it's that these movies Scorsese likes to make about the downfall of people who are malevolent forces and greedy and selfish, that they come on really fast and are sort of abrupt.
Yeah, they don't burn out with an explosion either. They, like you said, they just kind of go like they're just like a tumbleweed being kicked out into the desert.
And I think that's more true to life, especially the life of these real life people, than a more bombastic, tragic ending that of a Shakespeare play.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Cool. I think you're up next.
After Grand Budapest Hotel.
I also have that. Yeah.
This is maybe my favorite adventure movie ever. Possibly my favorite comedy movie ever. It is not lighthearted, but it's whimsical. It's really well paced. The characters are pretty vibrant, just as all the colors. The story is absolutely ridiculous, but by and large works. In many ways, it is about heartbreak and the heartbreak of both of the two main characters, nestled within the weird story and a story and a story that seems to only be there for the sake of having more funny characters in more funny costumes. A requirement of Wes Anderson movies.
Yes, that is necessary for him.
We've talked about Wes Anderson and this film on our channel before, so I don't have too much to add. I think it is the finest of his movies, a crowning achievement of how much you can do with a small budget. It doesn't hurt that Wes Anderson is just beloved in Hollywood, and so he's able to work with any range of huge ensemble A-list actors who seem to drop whatever they're doing at a moment's notice to go and be in one scene of his movie. But yeah, great movie, ridiculous movie, funny, good time.
Yeah, it's just so much fun. Every single watch of it is so much fun. I think we saw this over. I think you were there. We saw this over Easter weekend. I think I came home from college to watch it in theaters with mom and dad. But yeah, I'm so glad I got to see it in theaters. And
I saw this in theaters on a date.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We would definitely watch it again in theaters. It's a great movie. The bigger the screen, the better.
Yeah.
All right, what do you got?
Sorry, I was replaying the prison scene in Grand Budapest Hotel
where they open the hatch and the room's full of people playing cards.
Yes. It was just like
stabby.
Goodfellas bridge to Grand Budapest Hotel. I actually have The Graduate in between. This is one of my favorite summer kind of movies. I just really like all of the irony in the film and the way that plays out. Yeah, I think it just really plays a lot with the American dream, as well as being a teenager and also just anyone who doesn't really have their life figured out. I really like the fact that it's also fighting against what society wants you to do, and making your own fate, basically, would be another way of putting it. Yeah, huge fan of this movie. It's been a couple of years since I've seen it. But the end,
No, go ahead.
the ending of this movie always makes me laugh.
It's a very depressing ending.
It is, but it's also just so funny.
Yeah, this is the one of the ultimate movie endings where the surface level is they are married and now they're happy, and then they just get that look where it's like, oh shit, this is not what they wanted. End of movie.
Yeah, it's literally just like, what did I just do? What have I done?
Is this directed by Mike Nichols?
Yes.
Written by somebody named Brooks, maybe Albert something. Who wrote? I feel like it was the guy who wrote. He's a comedian. I don't know.
I have no idea.
All right. Well, he's not getting any credit.
Great performance by Anne Bancroft and what's that guy? Dustin Hopkins?
Close. Dustin Hopkins.
Dustin Hoffman. God damn it. I've been watching too much football.
Just
yeah.
CTE by osmosis.
No, like DeAndre Hopkins. Yeah, Dustin Hoffman. No, like the acting is awesome. Damn, that's right. Every time I look at what year it came out, 1967. It's so impressive. Some really good shots and camera movement as well. Really like the shot selection in this. I don't want to go too long on The Graduate. It is one of my favorites, but it's probably like on the lower end of my favorites, I would say. I think I know what you're gonna say next. Just wait like 5 seconds.
Oh, all right. We're just gonna sit here and wait. Just abruptly leaving us here. I have no idea what he thinks I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say the Green Knight, but maybe that's what he has.
What do you have next?
What do you think I have next?
Halloween?
No, I have the Green Knight.
Oh shit! Excellent. I'm actually tossing that on here because I got rid of Fistful of Dollars. I was looking through my letterbox trying to find my favorite 4.5-star rated movie, and yeah, this movie really got me.
I mean, this in the canon of those A24 movies that seem to exist wholly on basically just on spec to continually expand Hollywood's fascination and demystification of myth in storytelling. David Lowery, I think, adds one of the best chapters in their growing filmography with a deconstruction / relatively faithful adaptation of the Arthurian legend of the Green Knight, as Sir Gawain is tasked with striking the Green Knight and then having the same blow received onto him a year later. It is all about the way in which fate and myth converge, and the way in which fate can determine one's future, the way in which, telling someone that they are prophesized with fate will determine what they do. It's an excellent movie. It's really well written. To sort of get into the complexities of the plot is a little too convoluted for what I want to do now, but it features a great performance by Dev Patel.
Yeah.
The supporting cast is all excellent. Who's it? Alicia Vikander and Joel Edgerton play a couple of roles.
Oh yeah, that's right, Joel Edgerton.
Yeah, I love Joel Edgerton.
Sarita Chaudhry is great as well.
Is that his mom?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. She's a very important role. But yeah, great fantasy movie. It is both a sort of running through the motions of like a standard fantasy adventure, but with a little more under the surface than simply, Knight goes on a quest. It's sort of Knight goes on a quest and discovers that he has no hand in fate. It has been selected for him.
I love this movie. I probably will watch it again sooner rather than later, just because I think I watched it like super late at night, and it kind of sucked because I was getting like pretty tired towards the end and was like, God damn, I hope this keeps me awake. And then it just like got to the end and I was like, oh my God, okay, I'm gonna struggle to sleep because that was gave me such goosebumps, got me going.
We'll do an episode on David Lowery at some point so we can talk about this and Ghost Story and some of his nice kid movies.
Coincidentally, where the place I added it alphabetically was directly above A Ghost Story because I had a fistful of dollars, and I just didn't put two and two together that it was the same guy that directed that.
Oh
Which
yeah,
is just wild.
yeah, a very successful user of the one for me, one for you strategy in Hollywood. David Lowery basically works with Disney, makes a movie for them, and then A24 is like, all right, here's $10 million. Go make whatever you want. He makes these wacky movies with people in sheets as ghosts and shit. All right, Halloween.
Oh, I wasn't saying I have Halloween. I was saying I thought you would have it.
You don't have Halloween?
No, I do. Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I once again refrained from replacing Halloween with Black Christmas on my list, but I was close.
I still need to watch that. Halloween, obviously very, very beloved.
This is the 78 Halloween, not the other two movies that are only titled Halloween, because there are multiple.
Yeah, the camera techniques that are employed, like the one shot camera movement for a horror movie, all sorts of different techniques used to give the effect that there's some type of voyeur out there watching you, have been employed in all sorts of horror movies. Like its fingerprints are in so many horror movies that are coming out now. Most notably is actually another movie that I'll be mentioning later. I don't want to spoil that, but yeah, really fun movie. I think this was one of the first horror movies that I watched by myself, kind of like dipping my toe in to watching horror, just because I'm a scaredy cat. I very much am, and this is a great introduction to what horror is, and I would also say like the language of horror movies in general as well. It kind of like demonstrates the language with which slasher movies operate.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that it steals wholesale from Black Christmas, and by and large, I mean, most of those techniques are just Hitchcock. But the main thing about Halloween is, that someone could take those techniques, make a movie for like $5,000, and then create a massive multimedia franchise for hundreds of millions of dollars because of a guy in a Star Trek mask.
Right. That was Star Trek.
Yeah, Captain Kirk mask.
What?
Mask from the hit show Star Trek.
That's what Mike Myers mask is?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I just knew it as the Mike Myers mask.
You know.
So you were calling my next one. So what's your
Yes.
next one?
Harikari.
Solid choice. I do not have it, but
It's 1962 Japanese samurai movie. Pretty slow paced, pretty long movie. It's another one of those stories within a story. It tells us the tale of an old and disgraced samurai who wants to kill himself in the ritualistic suicide manner, the harikari. And as the story unfolds, the samurai realize they're maybe not as honorable as they claim. Great story. I think the slow pacing is meant to match the slow paced life of a lot of the samurai at the end of the samurai period. And it just wholesale calls out samurai culture for its largest flaws, namely, that it is not actually about honor. It was always about gold and class structure and upholding the power of the ruling class, which also helps to function as a double for a critique of fascism, which in, the early 60s in Japan, there were still many fascists and many nationalists who supported the failed attempt by the Japanese to spread their glorious empire across the world. I think it is the first and most notable samurai movie to have been made after World War II that so directly condemns the actions of Japan clearly in World War II and then draws a direct through line from that culture and sense of honor and responsibility to the samurai period, which is fascinating because for the most part, samurai culture, especially with the view of the West on samurais, is that they were, all this special, like a knight, a special individual, virtuous, but Not so fast.
Yeah, hired. They were hired swords.
Or worse, just retainers. They were just just schlubs who were owned by a king or a local lord.
Right, that's what I mean. There was like commerce in there, and instead of like chivalry or like a code, they had their own code, but money was a very critical aspect and an overarching one.
Well, once the like shogunate fell. Before that, they were less ruled by money, and it was just a rigid class thing. But
Mhm.
that class thing totally undercuts any sense of virtue and chivalry.
I think as years as years pass on, I think this will creep into my favorites. I've only seen it once, and it was with you. And I thought it was a great movie. It just didn't really resonate with me. I'm not really sure why, because
I have no honor.
yeah, that must be it. It's because I think I was probably just not in the right mood for watching the movie.
So for a very slow burn movie about
I guess I like expected something different. I also wish I'd seen it earlier, I will say, as opposed to like all of the other samurai movies I've seen. But I think I am fairly confident that it will uh oh man, excuse me, that it will creep onto my favorites list in the future. I especially like those scenes where they zoom in on the armor. Yeah, those are awesome. Those are excellent. I have Hard Boiled next. A John Woo fun hard boiled detective Chow Yun Fat Tony Leung movie. Yeah,
I do not. John Rue just couldn't make it on the list.
for you.
Yeah, no doves.
Damn. You want to talk about no honor? Um, this this movie is downright hilarious. Just with the situations the character gets in and crashing through walls and doors with the shotgun, only to also find himself in a situation where he has to save a bunch of babies. Oh man, it's a good time. It's a good time. But yeah, it's a John Woo film, so it's gonna be like fast paced, criminal underworld, a hard boiled detective. Yeah, just a ton of fun. So much fun. That's why it makes my list, honestly. If I had to boil it down, just a ton of fun at every scene.
Tequila is the stuff of legends.
The person, not the drink.
Yeah, the protagonist's name of the movie is Tequila. He plays the clarinet.
God damn it. The trailer is playing on IMDb right now, and just shafts of light coming in from while he walks into a store. So many scenes of guns, men walking. So many scenes just happen with like someone walking into a room, someone sitting there. They exchange like two phrases, and then a gun is pulled, just pointing right at him. Like, bitch, sit down. What have you got next?
I have got Heat.
Same. We managed to not watch this last night. We almost did.
Should have.
No, we shouldn't have.
Great heist movie. Sort of an action movie. 1995, directed by Michael Mann. What to say about Heat? It feels like a very classic action movie, despite being a more modern one. Features some well-regarded at this point legendary performances by Al Pacino and Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro, of which is quite understated. He's a methodical character, and Al Pacino is a bombastic, borderline cocaine-addled, rough and tumble police detective who's a loose cannon, but he gets results. It's a cat and mouse thriller. Al Pacino chases Robert De Niro, who chases some money and then revenge. Crazy gunfight after a heist. It's like 20 minutes long. The guy from those all Nationwide commercials dies horribly. Big cast of famous actors.
Cause she's got a great ass, and you got your head all the way up it.
Oh my God. Demi Moore, Natalie Portman, Danny Trejo, Val Kilmer, that Nationwide guy, Ted Levine, huge cast, great movie. If you like heists and cheesy 80s music in the 90s.
That is true. I never put two and two together. That it is a mid 90s movie with with those synths. William Fichtner
And Henry Rollins is even in it. Really, really people. A lot of folks.
John Voight.
Yeah, I was gonna say John Voight. He's
What?
like the fence.
Interesting. Yeah,
Only
great.
Tom Sizemore. That's the guy. I was like, who's that pedophile who's in it? Tom Sizemore.
Speaking of not getting sponsored, yeah,
Put him in the movie, and I didn't make him a pedophile. This is not on me. Nor is this a libel thing. This is not an alleged. All right, don't look it up. He's a bad man.
I'm not looking it up.
He's also dead, so sorry, Tom Sizemore, but fuck you. All right, I'm done with Heat. Clearly, we gotta get out of here.
Hell or High Water. I have next 2016 David Mackenzie movie. I love the pacing of this film. It's an all-star cast. Speaking of heists, two brothers who rob banks. They rob a bank, and it's basically like a tragedy in some way, because it examines the whole concept of like a character just not being able to help themselves, basically. But yeah, the pacing is excellent. I don't know how many times you've seen it. Thrice or twice?
Thrice.
Okay. The reason I ask that is because I'm not sure how rewatchable it is. Like, I feel like there might be a finite amount of times that it can be watched.
It's pretty rewatchable. There's pretty consistent like humor sprinkled throughout. The action scenes are all well crafted so as to be, interesting enough that your eyes don't glaze into the back of your head and you just turn your brain off and wait for the next scene. Performances are nuanced.
I did not realize that Taylor Sheridan wrote this, and he also wrote Sicario. Just had no idea.
Yeah, that's like how that's why he does what he does.
Damn.
He wrote basically a trilogy, and based purely on writing those, Paramount was like, we want you to run our entire TV sector, which is weird. Who knew that writing 3 mid-budget action movies would be enough to just take over a network? But that's the modern age.
Yeah, he's got a couple things consistent with his shows and movies: action, drama, and sand. You gotta have a hot climate with sand.
Well, what about Wind River?
Yeah, just swap sand with snow.
What about 1883?
Sand. Prairie life. There's some sand there on the riverbanks. He likes like operating in like that like Western mindset is what I'm saying. The rugged, like arid terrain.
Yeah.
I know what you're driving at. Yes. I get it. What have you got next?
Heathers.
Oh, shit, still haven't seen this one.
Embarrassing. It's just every movie. It's just I haven't seen that. Embarrassing. Just doesn't matter at all. This is a satire comedy.
I've heard it's pretty dark.
Directed by Michael Lehman. It's a straight up comedy about school shootings. Very funny. Yeah, it's kind of like an inverse of Donnie Darko in a number of ways, without any of the science fiction. Like Donnie Darko has some elements of humor, but is mostly pretty serious. Heathers is the other way around. It has a pretty serious subject matter, which is, violent, deranged high school students. But it's all kind of played for laughs. It is a very dark movie. There is a fair amount of suicide and school shootery violence. But this was well before the school shooting business ever even happened. So maybe it caused it. Or it was just a great movie and we just have a screwed up culture, and this movie made a very good point about it.
Maybe I'll wait till I'm not a teacher anymore to watch this one.
All right, what do you got next?
I have Her next.
Hereditary?
Her by Spike Jonze, the 2013.
I don't have that.
This movie I recently saw actually within the past year. Or I watched it over the summer, I should say. Love this movie. This movie is kind of like a Black Mirror or a Twilight Zone concept played out over the span of an entire movie, while being a love letter to love in general, love for yourself, but also love for someone else. And I think it just does a really incredible job of really exploring the space of what love means and the depths of love, and how you can really lose yourself in looking for love. You can really lose, I would say, everything as well. But yeah, it's an awesome movie. The use of color in it is excellent. The shots are great as well. Great performances in the movie. Yeah.
Yeah, this may have been the beginning of the like Joaquin Phoenix just rattling off home run after home run. Did you have what year this came out? Was it 2012?
This is 2013. So this is like in between. I think The Master came out before this.
2012. So I guess The Master, but I just wanted to. I mean, this is a great movie. It's not one of my personal favorites. To me, it's between this and Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, and Her may be a better movie. I guess I just like the Sunshine one more. I don't know. Time will only tell. I've only seen Her once, so
yeah, they definitely operate within the same space.
Who wrote it?
Great question. God, they're failing me. Spike Jonze did write it.
All right.
Were you asking that because you knew, or
no?
Oh,
I didn't know. No, I wasn't like trying to have a point to make. Spike Jonze, just a lot of his other movies aren't written by him, so I couldn't remember if this was written by somebody else or if he the motivation to write it himself.
What have you got next?
Hereditary.
Same.
What to say about Hereditary? This is 2018 horror movie by first-time filmmaker Ari Aster. It is a pretty slow movie for like the first half, I would say. And then there's like one crazy event, and then that just makes the whole thing sort of spiral out of control. It has a pretty memorable ending. I have heard some divisive remarks about it that some people sort of try to dismiss it away, but overall, it's a spooky movie. It's a well-written movie. The thematic elements that act as the metaphorical bridge between the sort of fantastical horror within and the intention of the art as an output, I think, is nearly perfect. Features a career best performance from Toni Collette and a great breakout performance by the son, whose actor's name I do not know.
Yeah,
Why is it on?
He's in a bunch of he's been in a bunch of movies since. Why is it on my list? Alex Wolff is his name. I really like the concept of inherited trauma and the way that it's explored. In this was also one of the first horror movies that I saw in theaters, and it fucking terrified me, which was like really fun as well, because obviously like you and I watched it together in theaters with your friends, and that made it that much more fun. So it was basically like baptism for me into the horror genre. And like watching it with other people just makes it that much more enjoyable. Like I specifically remember us like late at night standing outside of your apartment in downtown State College, just like discussing the movie for like an hour or so with your friends.
We all really enjoyed that one.
So like my reasoning here is like, one, it was nostalgic, but also I feel, I guess, blessed in a way that it happened to be like this movie and not I don't know, just some random horror movie. Because
Nope.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Glad it wasn't Nope.
Because we could have just as easily gone and seen Us, or something like that, and you just going like, oh, why do people like horror?
Exactly. But But no, there's something very like mythical about the movie, like that Ari Aster employs, like just with some of the tragic things that happen to the characters. Feels like, yeah, it just feels like Greek tragedy kind of in certain ways. I don't really know how to explain that, but that's what I'm going with. My next one is His Girl Friday, a 1940 comedy by Howard Hawks.
I don't think I've ever seen this.
This movie is downright hilarious, from start to finish. The pacing is nonstop. It's Cary Grant and Rosalind Russell, and their chemistry is like unparalleled throughout the movie. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what Howard Hawks did to get them. Like, I don't know what his direction was, but they just are so convincing in their roles, and it's just so funny. It's like offbeat, punchy, just quick hitting with all the lines. Yeah, I really like this movie a lot.
I've seen Bringing Up Baby, which is pretty much exactly what you just described, but with Katharine Hepburn instead, which is also Howard Hawks and Cary Grant. It is like an X. It's just fun. Every scene is a hilarious joke, and it's I have no idea how he got the chemistry either.
Yeah, I mean, Cary Grant is obviously a man unto himself. Like you can't really copy Cary. There's only one Cary Grant.
A real man's man, if you know what I'm saying.
Do I know what you're saying?
Gay. He was a proud gay man.
Oh, really?
I mean, allegedly.
I didn't know that.
That is not substantiated by fact.
Cary, where are you? You gotta let us know if that's true. Yeah, I didn't know that. No, I haven't seen Bringing Up Baby. Based on what I know about Bringing Up Baby, I think I just would like conceptually His Girl Friday more because it like centers around a newspaper. Yeah. What have you got next?
Her got lots of these ones with her in the name, but it's not her.
God damn it. Okay.
Hero.
Right. Is this the one that you were referencing over Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon?
Yes.
That's what I figured. Yeah.
Yeah, I view Hero as being superior in every way. I love this movie. I just got it, a physical copy of it, because I can never find it to stream it, and I want to watch it all the time because it is just a very moody movie. A lot of really excellent, some of the best, like martial arts, wuxia action sequences. Some of which are very silly, some of which are just, perfectly choreographed. The story itself is excellent, other than at the end when it kind of like tips its hat to the Chinese Communist Party and goes like, honorable. other than being a little bit Chinese propaganda, and I have another Chinese propaganda movie on my list, but that's okay because it's a great movie. Extremely evocative use of color. It has a lot of the same actors as Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon as well.
Yes, very much so.
Jet Li, Donnie Yen,
Zhang Ziyi.
Yeah, if you like crazy sword fights and martial arts and like some royal intrigue and really vibrant colors,
yes,
can't recommend it enough. It is hard to find, but it's well worth a watch. And you have to be okay with a little bit of Chinese propaganda.
Just a dash. Just a dash. Is this the one with the iconic fight in the rain?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also love this movie. I have Holy Motors next.
Me too.
Not a movie for everyone.
Who's this not for?
Most people who sit down to watch a movie and are like, "Hey, what movie do you want to watch?" and just go, let's get a quick Holy Motors in. This movie is gonna challenge you. It's gonna challenge the way you think and what you deem to be a movie. I would say it won't challenge your understanding of art because it is pure art. It is one of the purest and funny expressions of art that I've seen in a movie. The plot of the plot of the movie is like plot. A guy goes on, he has meetings throughout the day, and the meetings consist of him exiting his limousine and like embodying a new persona, being.
I mean, if you're at all familiar with like art house movies, it's not that much of a stretch. It's not like a, revolutionary thing, but it is, yeah, relatively narrativeless. It follows one actor who seems to be an actor who gets paid to show up random places and pretend to be other people.
Yes, but he becomes that person. He's not just acting in a role. Like, he very much is that person.
Right.
I love plotless art house expressionism. Huge fan.
I mean, every scene, like every sequence, I want to say there's 8 in the movie. They pretty much all just focus on what's important, which is the emotional core of each segment. But it can feel like whiplash at times because there's nothing narratively to tie them together other than it being the same actor.
It may be my attention deficit that draws me to a movie like this, but like the whiplash that you're talking about, I don't really feel the whiplash. I just like am leaning into it and just being like, yes, please take me away. Take me to something new. And I just love that it's constantly taking you somewhere new, all the way down to the end of the movie with the cars.
Yeah, just ending with cars talking to each other,
completely altering like the scape of the film that you just watched. Just like, wait, this is a world where cars are beings and talk to one another?
I mean, it makes sense. Makes sense in the flow of the story.
Holy motors.
Exactly.
Yeah, if you'd like to challenge, if you feel like you like movies, right? And you want to challenge yourself of like what a movie could be, strongly recommend watching this. But don't judge it as you're watching it. Just let the movie go. Just enjoy the experience. Enjoy it for what it is.
Leo Carax is a nice, pretentious French filmmaker.
All I picture is him sitting at a cafe, chugging espresso and eating cigarettes.
Yep, with sunglasses on.
Telling people that their art is shit.
And he's right. All right. Well, in the exact same vein as Holy Motors, I have the Holy Mountain.
Same. That is Nolan's background as well.
Yes, it is a visually acute masterpiece of psychedelic Jungian imagery and all kinds of religious symbology. I would argue heretical religious symbology, and I'm sure others have.
What was that? What was that word?
Heretical.
Heretical.
Heresy.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, not good. Not good. Church doesn't like that. Alejandro Jodorowsky is a Chilean director who made this psychedelic journey. And he's gotten in quite a bit of trouble over the years with controversies, and this film was no exception. But it is also largely plotless. But instead of being a sort of journey by one actor through a series of different plays and parts that he must do to form some kind of bizarre artistic meta-narrative, this is just a journey through a kaleidoscope for all kinds of reasons, which aren't worth mentioning. It's just worth watching.
Yeah, it's a very spiritual, existential abstraction, an odyssey, if you will, a spiritual odyssey. I also have Holy Mountain. I have Ikaru next. I very much
have Ikaru.
I very much appreciate just how this movie kind of takes the concept of not taking each day for granted, not taking each moment for granted, and being there for one another and standing up for what is right, as well as just like appreciating life's small moments. Because
Like it's grief.
yeah, exactly. There's that amazing scene on the swing that just like hits every time.
Where he sings "Life is brief."
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the first Akira Kurosawa movie I think we've had on here. Not good.
Is it the first one?
Yeah.
Oh damn. Who did Harikari?
Masaki Kobayashi.
Ah, got it.
There's more Kurosawa.
I was gonna say I think it's just a function
sure.
of alphabetical.
But yeah, this is the Japanese version of "It's a Wonderful Life," basically.
Completely stolen. I'm kidding.
Basically,
I don't think it is.
I mean, it's pretty stolen.
What's next?
Hot Fuzz.
I do not have that, but excellent choice.
Yeah, we did an episode on Edgar Wright already, so I again invite listeners to check that out for a deeper discussion on Hot Fuzz. But it's just an excellent homage to buddy cop comedies and also slasher movies, which it is kind of a combination of the two. Slasher movies within The Wicker Man. It's like the Wicker Man and a buddy cop comedy and a slasher movie put together, and every scene is very funny. Kind of like a Coen Brothers script. Edgar Wright loves wordplay and visual bits within editing, done by cinematography, written with Simon Pegg, who's also the lead. Nick Frost as the buddy cop. The rest of the film is filled with an all-star cast of British legends, and it is a good time from start to finish. Can't recommend it enough.
Yeah, you said pretty much everything I would say. It's also not on my list, but I would agree with all of that. Remarkable editing. I have In Bruges next, a dark comedy that takes place in Bruges, a Martin McDonagh film. Who have we got here? We've got Mr. Caterpillar Eyebrows himself, Gleason. That guy. What's his name?
Brendan Gleeson.
Brendan Gleeson. Yeah. All I was thinking of was his son's name. This movie takes so many like bits of heist or assassin movies and really like stretches them out and plays within that genre. If you're hired to kill someone and they end up trying to kill themselves, then what do you do? That's basically what's happening in the movie. There's some really great lines from the movie in a similar way to The Big Lebowski, I would say as well, where they're just like a bunch of really good referential lines that stick out. Some of which are probably inappropriate to say now, but we'll skip over those.
It's an inanimate object. You're an inanimate fucking object.
Yeah, exactly.
After Ralph Fiennes destroys his own phone out of frustration.
Yeah.
I have a couple of kids. Hey, you take back that bit about my kids. Yeah, it is very funny. I don't have it on my list. It was a favorite of mine for years, and I don't know. The last few times I've rewatched it, there's been something about it that, like, by the ending where it's supposed to all sort of come together, it just doesn't. I don't really feel much by the ending. I think it is a phenomenal movie. Yeah, it just I like Banshees of Inisherin more. And
oh wow.
I forgot about that movie, and so it's not on my list because I forgot it existed because I've seen it more recently.
Damn.
I think Banshees of Inisherin is more well written, and I think the darkness underneath it is even darker than In Bruges, which sort of allows the dark undercurrent to sort of get washed away by a lot of the comedy, even by the end of the movie. But it is undeniably funny, just, oh, you guys can't go up there. What do you mean? It's too narrow.
Just shitting on American tourists.
And then they die of a heart attack from trying to go.
What do you have next?
House.
A
Nobuhiko Obayashi film. This is a psychedelic fever dream from 1977, which is difficult to describe. Technically, it's a horror movie. I would call it a comedy. about some Japanese schoolgirls who go to visit one of their aunts in the countryside, and then they are plagued by some combination of a haunted house and a series of ghosts and a demon-possessed cat. I love its really everything about it. There's something very campy in almost every single scene, which sort of causes you to never take the horror quite seriously, but it continues to just bash you over the head with borderline Scooby-Doo scenes, Japanese girls like saying zoinks and then karate kicking ghosts. Visually, it's a feast. It has a nice wide array of Technicolor psychedelic imagery, and it often feels more like an anime than a live action horror movie, but it works. Very surreal, very silly.
Yeah, I don't have it on my list, but I did very much enjoy watching this one. We watched this one together, right?
We did.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It really challenges preconceived notions of what a movie is or should be, and is quite divisive. I'm on
Divisive.
yeah. I'm on its letterboxed right now, and there's all sorts of people lauding the movie for its experimental nature, and then other people, if the phrase "just because they could have doesn't mean they should have" was a movie, this is it. That's it. That's all I have to say about this worthless pile of shit.
Yeah, anyone who says that is a coward.
Yes, I agree. But people have opinions. Anyway, I have Inception next.
Nice. I do not have Inception. It's on the short list, but I didn't quite get there.
Oh, you said you do not have Inception?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Where to begin with this omnibus? This movie, the soundtrack alone is remarkable. It adds so much depth to a already multi-layered film. There is a ton of stuff going on in the movie that can be very overwhelming, but also it's not as complicated as it presents itself, I guess I would say. Super enjoyable movie that is, we've talked about this before, but it's kind of like a bits of a James Bond movie inside of a psychological film that a guy is trying to figure out his own past and deal with his own loss.
Yeah, I mean, I love this movie. I think it's a great movie. I think I've seen it quite a number of times. I am always down to rewatch it. It may indeed belong on my favorites list, but some of the adherence to it being schlocky for me gets in the way of how serious it also wants to present itself. So I find there to be a disconnect between the sort of serious relationship between Top and Watanabe's character, Saito.
That's a pretty good take, yeah.
And I think some of the characters don't really fit into the larger story by the end, which makes them feel unnecessary. And so I think it works exceptionally well as a heist movie, and I think all of the emotional beats, for the most part, land. Maul, the wife character that sort of pursues Dom, the protagonist, throughout, I don't really like the ending with her. I think for how much they build it up, it doesn't work, which is the exact opposite of the purpose of the heist, which is to plant an emotional idea in Cillian Murphy's head, which then does pay off. And I like the part where he opens the safe and sees a picture of him with his dad, and then instead takes the pinwheel, and they successfully trick him the same way that they trick the audience into feeling something about this character that they've done very little to actually emotionally build up. But I just find that weird, because then, that is the story within the story, the dream within the dream, whereas the actual dream is about Dom trying to get back to his family that I just don't feel anything for. And so him trying to get back to his kids, then reinforces the ending, which is great. It's just doesn't all quite come through for me.
Yeah, that's fair.
But it is an undeniably excellent heist action movie. Like the bending city, the stuff exploding, top notch.
Yeah, and also just like the whiplash that you experience if you just think about it even for a second, when they're like doing a James Bond chase scene on snowmobiles and then being like, wait, this is a dream within a dream within a dream. But like I like that they're fighting in like someone's mind as opposed to like you actually thinking that they're in Switzerland fighting bad guys by some mustache twirling billionaire. Like I enjoy that mental exercise more than like dispelling my or what's it called with disbelief,
Suspension of disbelief.
Suspending my disbelief. Yeah.
Verisimilitude.
Yes, verisimilitude.
I mean, it also has. I know we've talked about this movie before, but it has these hilarious Christopher Nolanisms where, you know, one layer of the movie is like Christopher Nolan saying directly to the audience, damn, I shouldn't be making movies, I should be with my family. And then, you know, the deeper layer is just, I wish I was making James Bond movies. And then the deeper layer, God damn it, I wish I was making James Bond.
It's true.
It just subconsciously, all Chris Nolan thinks about is James Bond movies, but consciously he just wants to get back to his family. He's tired of making these James Bond movies.
Makes another James Bond movie with the protagonist moving forwards and backwards,
which is also has the same element.
Yes.
I gotta save my wife and I gotta get out of this movie to get back to my family.
All right, we got to move on.
All right, my next one is I Can't Get You Out of My Head, a 6-part documentary by British documentarian and collage artist Adam Curtis, which I have recommended to anyone who will talk to me for more than like 10 to 15 minutes at a time. I recommend all of Adam Curtis's movies. They are all free and available on YouTube. You can find most of them on BBC's iPlayer as well. But that's a little harder to access than YouTube, where I think he's housed them all permanently until BBC changes the rights to them. But they're basically visually collages put together from decades and decades of supplementary archived footage that BBC owns that Adam Curtis has been granted unlimited access to. And he spins them together and edits them together to create a new narrative, which he attempts to use to tell you something about the world as he sees it. In this case, it is a 6-part political documentary, essentially about the way in which individuals' ideology and political institutions work together to build the world and the reality that we see. It is a very thorough examination of a number of different people throughout the 20th and 21st century, which I think comes to some very interesting conclusions. It is, you know, basically 6 hours long, so that can be a barrier to entry for people, but, you know, you can watch it piecemeal pretty easily. The different parts, you know, build on top of one another. And I would argue it in and of itself is a building block on the previous 25 years of Adam Curtis's work, which is a number of great documentaries in and of themselves, particularly the one he made prior to this, which is called Hypernormalization. And so at some level, it can be difficult to get the full scope of this project without having seen the others, but I still highly recommend it to anybody. Kind of a downer, though. Kind of a downer. If you've been living in the modern world, you know, there's maybe some unpleasantness.
I am probably going to watch this relatively soon, just because my wife and I have been discussing the problems of the modern world, which can be rather overwhelming at times. And I think that this might offer up some, not necessarily answers, but more like outline just how shitty the world has been and always has been, but also just showing who has been perpetrating this and like offering up some like ways of making sense. Yeah, I'm looking forward to covering Adam Curtis actually in some episodes. I believe my friend Pete is pretty well versed in his movies, so that could be fun to have him on to discuss. Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to watching this and all his other films as well, because I know that he has come highly recommended from you. I have Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark next. Just a classic.
I do have that. I put it under Raiders of the Lost Ark for some reason.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, just a very, very fun adventure movie, a beloved film. Not gonna be able to really add that much more to that discussion, but it's one of my favorites just because it's just like it's nostalgic. It's great for kids, it's great for adults. It's just a fun ride. It's a wild ride. Well, yeah, the score is great, the plot is fun, great action sequences, some pretty good metaphors.
Sorry, I keep turning my camera off because if you can't hear from my nasally voice, I'm still fighting off several weeks worth of COVID. Turning my camera off to try to cleanse myself.
Oh no, you're good. I figured that was the case, or it was a glitch in the Matrix.
No, I'm dying over here. But yeah, I agree. Indiana Jones. If Grand Budapest Hotel is like the perfect madcap dash across European countries with brilliant use of color and sort of an appreciation for artsy filmmaking, then Indiana Jones is the ultimate American pulp adventure where an American intellectual dons a cowboy hat and a whip and beats the shit out of Nazis in in the Middle East.
Let's take a pause here. We'll be right back.
Up next. Oh, I guess before moving on from Raiders of the Lost Ark, I should shout out that I like The Last Crusade just as much, but only included one. They're pretty similar movies. They're both equally great.
One has Sean Connery, one does not.
No ticket. I don't know why that line just fills me with joy.
That's the one that he says after he like dumps the guy out of the Zeppelin, right?
Yeah, he throws a Nazi out of the Zeppelin. No ticket. In the Mood for Love is the next one I have. 2001 romance film directed by Wong Kar-wai. Legendary cinematography from Australian Christopher Doyle. Wong Kar-wai is a Hong Kong filmmaker. He's made a number of other well-regarded sort of classic films that garner him international renown. This, I think, is the culmination of his efforts, especially in his work with Christopher Doyle, and wonderful performances from the leads here. It's about a man and a woman who discover that their respective husband and wife have been seeing each other, and so the two sort of have this attempted affair. Very much about heartbreak, loneliness, longing, betrayal. Can't recommend it enough. Incredible period piece, unforgettable cinematography. It's a very distinctive style that Wong Kar-wai developed through the 90s, the late 80s and into the 90s, and I think culminates with this film.
I was gonna say, I haven't seen this one, but just by the title alone, it just makes me think of like anytime someone is like, Nolan, why do you always seem so negative at times? Why are you so critical, overly critical? It's like, have you seen the films I like? Because the In the Mood for Love, like, love this movie.
What do you mean?
Like, In the Mood for Love just sounds like a great like romantic explosion. Obviously, that's not what this movie directly sounds like, but it does sound like an exploration of what romance is and what love is and how to make meaning of that in life.
I'm just like any other American film enjoyer. I like Raiders of the Lost Ark. I like Goodfellas. I'm just a normal guy. All right. Good thing I'm not presenting my next movie. We can get away from that real quick.
I'm more just commenting on the fact that like I appreciate about you that you have a movie like In the Mood for Love, but then also like The Holy Mountain, something like that, or what was the last one that you just mentioned? That documentary one.
I Can't Get You Out of My Head.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's some whiplash. Yeah. Speaking of romance, Inglorious Bastards I have next.
I've got that one.
A nice romantic movie about killing Nazis. What to say about this movie? Also, Nolan and I have decided to do continual bits where we're eating, and just saying fuck it to starting recording, because why not?
I didn't decide that. I was told that by my superiors at Big Biscuit.
Yeah, we just follow their directives. Also, Monsanto has started actually supporting us. I've got these nice oh, what are these called? They're called raspberry oranges, actually. Look at that. Yeah, they're super good.
That looks
They're really good.
disgusting.
It's like a blood orange almost. It's really good. That good blood vitamin C. Thank you, Daddy Monsanto.
United
Yeah.
Fruit Company, sponsored by the military junta of the United Fruit Company.
They don't like it when you say that out loud.
We support the coups. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, Inglorious Bastards. Great opening sequence. One of the all-time master classes in tension and tension building. The beginning of that movie. I mean, there's few things as satisfying as watching Nazis burn. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is the obvious spiritual sequel and superior version of The Dirty Dozen, which manages to have all the fun and all the violence simultaneously throughout. And then, as I alluded to several hours ago, that the brilliance of Inglourious Bastards is that it holds the audience's feet to the fire in its empty enjoyment of violence and vengeance against the Nazis by having the Nazis in the movie watch a propaganda war film about killing their enemies, and the way in which it discussed some of the Nazis and how you're rooting for these characters to kill them, kind of wagging the finger and going, hey, you may not be that much better than these Nazis.
Exactly.
And then they carve a swastika into the guy's forehead.
I think it's some of my best work yet.
All right, moving on. I've got Inferno, directed by Dario Argento.
Still haven't seen this one.
It is a 1980 giallo slasher movie. The giallo is like a subgenre of artsy Italian slasher movies, of which Dario Argento is one of the most notable filmmakers within the genre. Inferno is a sequel of sorts to the much more famous and much more appreciated Suspiria. But I still have great love in my heart for Inferno, which is a very strange, more stripped back film. Has all the highlights of a great Argento movie, though. Just people being butchered with knives, very striking use of bold colors, lots of blues, lots of reds, wonderful set design. More than anything else, I think it just has a great atmosphere and a great tone that it sustains successfully throughout, in the face of some, shall we say, subpar acting and non-existent plotting. If you can't tell, a film that's willing to use bold colors and establish a slow, deliberate tone means more to me than I wrote good plot.
Right.
But yeah, I can't recommend this one enough. A simple, straightforward movie, kind of a horror movie. That's all I got.
Definitely on my watch list. I have Interstellar next.
I don't have this one.
A film near and dear to my heart. Literally, I have the Dylan Thomas poem, at least part of it, tattooed on my chest. Yeah, I very much love, in the same way that we talked about 2001 Space Odyssey. Obviously, this movie probably wouldn't exist without that movie. But it's Christopher Nolan doing his own sort of 2001 in a way. Yeah, there are just some really great emotional beats in the movie. I do not think it is a perfect movie, however. I know there are some big Interstellar stands out there, but I also don't think that it's like I think it is a great movie. I've had discussions with. I think that there are people out there who either don't like it because they just, I don't know, don't have emotions, or they just love the movie because it like hits the emotional beats for them, and that makes them think that it's the greatest movie ever.
I mean, the thing I just described about why I love Inferno, which is a very flawed movie without a plot, is basically the same reason Interstellar is not on my list, because Christopher Nolan allows his love of overly complicated plots to get in the way of what is otherwise a near flawless movie.
Yeah, exactly. See our Christopher Nolan episode for more, as well as what we just discussed about Inception for like 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Link in the description below. Like, subscribe, comment. You know the drill. Do we have links in the description below?
I can provide that.
Gotta put, I would just link every. I just imagine like every episode we do has a link for every previous episode we do, and we stop every couple of minutes to remind the audience. Yeah, links in the description below. Like, subscribe. You know, enjoy the content. Give us money.
We do need to do a postmodern episode that is postmodern, where it's just filled in the background with like gifs of insane dancing, and then self-referential using our own language. What do you have next?
Ip Man.
Nice. I also have Ip Man.
So, as I had previously alluded to when talking about Hero, I did have another Chinese propaganda film on my list, Ip Man, which is blatant war propaganda made by the Chinese Communist Party, but it's excellent. It's great stuff. Donnie Yen at the top of his game.
Judge the art, not the artist.
Right. It's a period piece about World War II China. Right before and then including the invasion of China by Japan, featuring Ip Man, who was a real martial arts master who practiced and perfected Wing Chun. And it is the story of Ip Man's life in that time period as he navigates the difficult Japanese occupation of the city that he lives in. And he beats those Japanese with his bare hands. Good vengeance. Some all-time great martial arts action scenes in this one. Particularly of note, the scene where he fights 10 black belts and murders them all brutally.
Actually murders them.
Which is kind of the emotional climax of the movie, which is unfortunate because there's like another 30 to 45 minutes after that, which unfortunately the pace slows down quite a bit. But yeah, all in all, recommend it. The handful of scenes that do really work, and everything sort of in between is kind of mediocre. But ever since I watched it, I've always really enjoyed it and find myself drawn to rewatching it as multiple sequels, one of which is even directed by Wong Kar-wai.
Really?
Sort of. It's like Ip Man 5, the Grandmaster, which is not really a sequel and does not have Donnie Yen.
Interesting.
But it's about Ip Man. That's all I got. Got anything else?
I actually have a movie in between. I have Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
One.
The 1978 Philip Kaufman one. Yeah, huge fan. This is so much fun. I love the overall aesthetic of like, I don't know, late 70s movies. There's something about that graininess that's both like spooky but also I don't know, like it's film. It just is like literally you can tell it's shot on film.
Mm-hmm.
There's something about that quality that is just so perfect. Seeing that on the big screen, and yeah, the movie's editing is a lot of fun. The concept itself, obviously, this movie is a remake, but it's a spooky concept. It's a fun sort of like Twilight Zone episode that's extended, and yeah, it's not a zombie movie, but there are like conceptual concepts that run throughout zombie movies. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. Jeff Goldblum is in this one. I thought I was making that up in my head, but yeah, he is in here. Damn, he's old.
He's had a good career.
Donald Sutherland just destroying every scene he's in.
Donnie S. Yeah, shout out to Don't Look Now, which didn't make it on our lists, but great horror movie with Donald Sutherland.
Yeah, that is a great movie.
Had to be mentioned.
Leonard Nimoy. Yep. Wow. There's a lot of good scenes where like they do the close up of someone's face where they're like pointing at something or just like mortified by something else. That's done in like a bunch of horror movies. Yeah. Super good movie.
Yeah, iconic ending, like you said. There's something about the visual tone throughout that is unforgettable, and I do also find that sort of really the entire run of the 70s by a ton of great American directors. There's just a mood about the way that the film is shot, like all those films are shot, that there's like a perfect atmosphere. Philip Kaufman, John Carpenter, Spielberg, Scorsese, they all have this, at least in sort of like the sci-fi horror genre, all those movies have that same sort of feeling. I most closely associate John Carpenter, but
yeah, I was gonna say it. I also most closely associate it with Carpenter, but there were a bunch of people who also bring that about. Wait, Philip Kaufman, he had his hands in Raiders of the Lost Ark. He was a writer.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, I think he's a credited story writer, possibly an uncredited story writer, or got credit for the screenplay. The only reason Philip Kaufman's not more of a household name is because he died, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, I want to say, and he didn't make as many like big hits as his contemporaries at the time, like Spielberg or George Lucas.
Outlaw of Josie Wales. Amazing. That's awesome. Yeah, I had no idea. You're up.
It's a Wonderful Life.
Got it. Yeah.
Schmaltz Fest. Great Christmas movie about a man who kills himself because his life is just difficult. And then an angel basically does a Christmas carol and is like, you idiot, you shouldn't have killed yourself. Life is worth living. And he learns this lesson. And we all have a happy Christmas.
Yeah. It's a sister movie to Ikaru, like we mentioned.
Really the older brother.
Yeah. Because it came out first.
And it's a more manly movie.
Yeah. Because America.
Stewart. Yeah, also.
What?
I don't know why I'm like bullying Ikaru.
I was gonna say Ikaru is just like no one should ever bully Ikaru. Ikaru is just like a really nice, like older man who's just sitting on a bench minding his own business.
Just picturing Jimmy Stewart like has a Shimura in a headlock, just like, oh gosh, Shimura, I got you.
Yeah, this movie is a great reminder of no mistake is worth taking your own life. It really shows how connected we all are and the true power of love and joy, honestly. Yeah, I have actually on here next Iron Giant. This might be one of the is this the first animated one? I had Fantastic Mr. Fox, but that's claymation.
That's animated.
I actually need to rewatch this. Obviously, I think it's probably been like close to 2 decades since I've seen this, but yeah, this movie is near and dear to my heart. Hits all sorts of different nostalgic beats. I do also think that it influenced my love of film actually from an early age, specifically because of the beautiful sequences in the movie, like action sequences and the use of color and self-sacrifice as well. Thematically really resonated with me as a kid and still does today.
To quote Lars von Trier from a movie I listed earlier, the 5 obstructions: animated movies are bad.
Just offering up heartfelt childhood memories. Blam, blam, blam.
I just had to. He was rolling around in the back of my head. There's a part where Lars and Jorgen Leth are like sitting and eating like caviar or something pretentious. Lars is like, maybe the next obstruction should be that you make an animated version. And Leth is like, oh, do I have to? And Lars is like, yeah, you're right. Animated movies suck. They're not real movies.
Oh my God.
No, the Iron Giant's great.
No, I know you're saying that tongue in cheek because
I have animated movies in the pipeline here.
Yeah, we're not confined to that, and we're not pretentious
Fascists,
enough.
literal fascists.
We're not as pretentious to write off an entire subgenre of movies. Although we have done that. We'll we'll get into some of those discussions later on. I've got some movies that will challenge the takes I've previously stated. Musicals. Go ahead.
Jaws. Got Jaws.
I have Jaws as well. Yeah.
Yep. We're gonna need a bigger boat. Amazing cinematography. Actually, I don't even know if the cinematography is that amazing. Incredible blocking. It features Spielberg's direction at its best, which is an even more heightened version of John Carpenter's skill as like a blocker, like making sure that what your eye follows is just exactly what's on screen. It just highlights that to the fullest extent. Ridiculous monster movie, just three dudes got to stop a monster. Good fun, incredible summer movie. Love watching it on sweaty summer nights, 4th of July.
Or
go
at
in
the
the
beach.
ocean. Yeah.
I love that movie. I have It Follows actually next.
Sorry, Jaws music. I don't have It Follows, obviously.
Which movie was it that we were talking about before that very clearly influenced this one? Halloween. A lot of similar like suburban shots that are like them not following kids but showing, like, the camera is in front of the kids and the kids are walking towards the camera, and then there are things like behind the camera that look completely innocuous, but upon further examination are kind of like a little bit more unsettling. There's a lot of like different sort of like pieces that are utilized within the film, like technology that is out of place within the era kind of throws the audience for a loop and is unsettling.
It also helps make it feel timeless.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
It's like it could be the 80s, it could be 2015.
Right. I do like that. And anyone that says that this is just a haunting metaphor for STDs, sure, but there's a lot more to it than that. I don't know.
No, I agree. This is a great movie. I think this movie is way better than Halloween. I just like Halloween more for probably some stupid nostalgia reason.
You think this movie is way better than Halloween?
Yeah, no, not close. Scarier. There's a lot more going on. It actually has like a deeper message, way more well written, better acted. Special effects that are good, visually more stimulating, more timeless.
There are a lot of scenes from this that are just like burned into my retinas just because they're just like so excellently executed. Like the concept alone that like someone can see this thing that's following them and everyone else does not see it is just like very, very terrifying. Like that one scene when they like decide to go out into the countryside to that like one house or whatever, and the like person sees the thing is following them, and they like freak out and they get in the car and they drive away, and all their friends are like running across the lawn with like the leaves like scattering, and they see like literally the demon next to their friends walking towards them. Oh man, just chills every time thinking about it.
It also made Micah Monroe the star of the movie, a certified actress.
Yeah.
She's been in bigger and bigger movies recently. Gotta see Long Legs.
Oh yeah. Have you seen it?
No, I gotta see it though.
Yeah, same.
Unhinged Nick Cage, are you kidding me? I gotta get in there.
That and The Substance, I can't wait to watch.
Moving on, Jurassic Park. Another schmaltz factory over here. You were calling me critical, and I just got nothing but the standard American classics, all right?
Critical? No, I wasn't calling you critical. Other people call you critical. Overly critical.
Straw manning our own audience.
Listen, I've heard our friends and family ask you point blank, why are you so critical? Why are you so negative all the time? Yeah, nothing but the hits.
Have asked me the same thing, and I go, I don't know what I like Jurassic Park. I like a good time. I hate capitalism. money's bad, corrupts the soul. We don't understand science. We shouldn't overdo things. Great
How
movie.
how joyful are you, Nolan? How joyful?
I mean, on a scale of what? The
Uh,
scale, like the Grouch to Fred Rogers.
yeah, like the Scrooge at the beginning of Scrooge to the Scrooge at the end of Scrooge. Fred Rogers.
That's a hard question. I don't know if I can ask that or answer that.
My goal for this year is to be more joyful. Um, yeah, just getting back to that emotion, and like also I think that helps with what. Are you okay over there?
Yeah, I'm scrolling up and down on my list, which has like highlighted movies, which makes the screen look dark versus just fucking
No,
around.
it's a goal of mine to embody being joyful. Just because I think that that's infectious and people feed off of that. And yeah, I think that's an important aspect to life, is if you're not living a joyful life and you're not doing things that bring you happiness or joy, then what are you doing? What are you doing in life? Life.
Accumulating profit.
Right. Which to me is in contrast to joy. But I digress. You were talking about Jurassic Park.
Yes, speaking of accumulating profit, Richard Attenborough is a crazy capitalist who decides to let science run amok in this Michael Crichton-inspired film, directed by Steven Spielberg. Groundbreaking special effects for the time, great performances from all the leads. Another Jeff Goldblum film, Laura Dern, like I said, Attenborough, Sam Neill. Yeah, I mean it's just another great adventure movie. Spielberg made these timeless ones that I don't tire of watching. They're kind of the like perfected precursors to the sort of theme park rides that we have now as movies. I think these still hold up as relatively well written movies. Jaws is probably better than Jurassic Park, but Jurassic Park is bigger in scale and scope. Clever girl.
I think for me to appreciate Jurassic Park as much, I would need to watch it again because it's been a while. I have a movie that came out the year before this one. Next, Last of the Mohicans.
Oh, another Michael Mann's.
Yeah, I was just gonna say another Michael Mann. Yeah, excellently acted movie. I really like the plot of it. There's something that really hits me with the score, and yeah, seeing them all running through, seeing the actors running through the woods. Very emotional. It's romantic. Yeah, great movie.
Yeah, I like this one. I've only really seen it once. I
Same actually.
I liked it well enough, but it didn't make an impact on me.
Just like The Godfather.
Yeah, right. Sorry, I'm still just dying over here.
No, you're good. What do you have next?
The Circle of Rouge, the Red Circle.
Same.
Nice. Do you also have The Samurai right after that?
I do.
All right, I'll just highlight both of those. This is a pair of truly excellent French crime movies, respectively from 1970 for The Red Circle and 1971 from The Samurai, both starring the legendary Alain Delon, who recently died horribly, tragically.
The Samurai is from 1967.
What did I say? 71.
Yeah, it's not important.
Yeah, some French people walk around and do French stuff. The Samurai, Les Samurai is definitely the more influential of the two. It's had a big impact on certainly how Clint Eastwood was used in films. It's kind of the rule of cool and style above almost all else, but there are still interesting psychological elements to the titular character played by Alain Delon, where he's just kind of an unthinking, unfeeling assassin that ends up being more than the sum of his parts. This is like the nexus point for ancestors of Drive, is Le Samurai.
Yeah, that's a great connecting piece.
Whereas the Red Circle is just like a ridiculous heist movie of sorts. Technically, I guess there's a heist in Le Samurai, but the heist in the Red Circle is like I want to say 20 minutes long, like near Rafifi levels of heist length. And then it ends in like a ridiculous shootout and chase scenes. And
Holy shit, that's right. The Ugly is in Le Cercle Rouge.
Eli Wallach.
Jan Maria Volante, the guy with the beard in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
The Ugly, Eli Wallach.
Maybe he's the bad, I guess.
Angel Eyes. Lee Van Cleef.
Jan Maria Volante. We're just failing here.
Trouble on this one.
Oh, it's the guy for a few dollars more. God damn it. El Indio.
Yes, yeah. He's in the Fistful of Dollars and a few dollars.
Yeah, Ramon Rojo. That's who he is in A Fistful of Dollars.
No, Eli Wallach is in blackface in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. So yeah, we didn't mention because he was like a classical like New York City Jew, and then he just inexplicably plays like dirty Mexican man in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Well,
hey, I'm not the one that did all that shit. All right, I'm simply commenting on it accurately.
Yeah, both Le Cercle Rouge and Le Samurai are great heist, not noir, but yeah, like you said, like cool. Le Samurai is probably like it deserves to be on like everyone's top 10 like cool movies. That cool factor, like you said.
Laconic chain smokers.
Yeah, the scenes of just a wide shot of him sitting in his apartment, like listening to his own bird tittering, and you just have like a trail of smoke wisping up to the ceiling. Just a great afternoon film to watch. I mean, also it helps that Alain Delon is just like so strikingly handsome. So back to you actually, because you covered your Le Cercle Rouge and my Le Samurai, which we both had. So what do you have next?
Let the Right One In.
Never seen it.
This is a slow-paced Norwegian coming-of-age horror movie about a little boy with no friends who's bullied at school, who then befriends a vampire who has the appearance of a little girl. It's heartwarming. It is cold and brutal. It's a great movie. Norwegian films tend to be very slow-paced compared to American films. So as a recommendation, I would keep that in mind before you watch it. Oftentimes Norwegian films are highlighted by their lack of camera movement, as a very general overgeneralization. Very little camera movement, a lot of just square right-on shots. And it helps establish a very specific type of pacing, which, as the director of this one, Thomas Alfredson, uses to perfect effect, can lead to some very chilling scenes and some very emotional scenes. There's also a kind of half-baked American remake of the movie with, I believe, the same title.
I've never seen this or Salem's Lot, but I do know that they have a lot of similarities between the two, or at least people circle in conversation about them.
Stephen King has not made an appearance yet on this list.
No?
Wonder if that'll change.
I have Leon the Professional next. Still on here, but probably with time is moving down the list. Maybe just because of the whole child falling in love with grown man aspect that really sours with age.
Right? Because there no
what?
Nothing. I was gonna make an ill-timed joke.
Yeah. But like, if you can get past that, the movie is great.
I mean, it works well in the movie.
Yeah, like I'm probably not doing the explanation justice because the guy in the movie, Leon, who is a hitman, it's not like he is doing anything with this child. It's just kind of like a kid who is working through their own emotions, and also just has terrible family life as well. So he kind of takes on the mantle of father for her, and also in meting out punishment to those that would do her harm. I like this movie for its use of color, the shot choices, the action sequences. I think the dialogue is pretty great. Natalie Portman is really good in the movie. You can tell that she's going to be a great actress. Forget the actor's name.
Jean Reno.
Jean Reno, yeah. I didn't want to say Jean because I figured that would just be racist to French people, but yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's his name.
It's just like a super generic French name, Jean Reno. Like, yeah, he's great in the movie.
Yeah, I mean this just is one of the descendants of the samurai, pretty directly. But instead of focusing entirely on Leon the professional and his role in the criminal underworld, it brings in the Luc Besson I love kids elements, which work in the film, just not in Luc Besson's life.
Yeah. Also, shout out to Gary Oldman, being an incredible villain.
Everyone. Who should we get? He just screams everyone. It's one of like 5 or 6 very funny, notable scenes with Gary Oldman in this one.
Stray Danny Aiello as well.
Who's Danny Aiello?
Chunky Italian man.
Oh, like Leon's friend. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. He's pretty funny in a lot of roles that he's in. He's in Moonstruck, which I still need to watch. All right, you're up.
I have The Lighthouse.
Same.
Directed by Robert Eggers. I invite you to watch our episode on Robert Eggers, which we will unfortunately either need to re-record or add an amendment to, since he is a young filmmaker who just released another movie. But we did talk about The Lighthouse at length in that.
Yeah, I don't think we need to add it on. We can just do a separate episode, just like we did with The Killer after covering David Fincher. Or we can just add it to the end and extend the episode. Whatever you want. Don't blow a gasket over there.
Scanners.
Yeah. Oh my god, I thought I was gonna see your demise on camera. No, great movie. Movie is divisive. Yeah, there are a lot of people either don't get it, don't want to get it, dislike it. It's just too weird for me. I can tell it's artsy, but I don't know. I don't get it.
It's about a couple of gay guys.
It bothers me. Something about it bothers me. What, you don't like gay people? No, I just don't get what they're doing. Okay, all right. It's not for you then.
It is a weird movie with Robert Pattinson, jerking off in sheds and like killing seagulls and shit. Like I would never begrudge someone for not liking it because it's a weird sex pervert movie. But
I am not making fun of people for not liking the movie. I am making fun of them for not trying to understand and engage with it.
Bad luck to kill a seabird.
Yeah, great. I have The Lord of the Rings next.
Why'd you spill your beans?
Holy fuck, that scared me. Oh my god. Did not know you could do that with the microphone.
What do you mean?
That you could put the microphone like in your throat and turn into Willem Dafoe like that. Yeah, Lord of the Rings, all of them. I guess
I just have it listed as one movie because I'm cheating to get more movies on the list.
Yeah, exactly. Someday we'll open that box to talk about them. It'll probably be a bit of a roundtable discussion with some other guests as well, just because, I mean, who doesn't like The Lord of the Rings? Who doesn't want to talk about The Lord of the Rings as well?
I know plenty of people who don't like The Lord of the Rings. They're the same type of soulless bastards who hate the Beatles and hate joy. The thing I've been accused of doing and being. But once again, I haven't. Just as a normal list of normal classic movies. No sex pervert stuff like The Lighthouse. No weird stuff on here like House.
Well, no, there isn't. No, it's great great, great stuff. For how long the movies are, they are so engaging. And they're just so epic in nature, and they pull it off. I don't think we've really had anything since of the grand scale that has really culminated in and paid off to the point that Lord of the Rings has. Harry Potter tried it, Game of Thrones tried it.
Yeah, the sort of the Marvel cinematic stuff, and I suppose arguably some of the other superhero, big franchise stuff.
Chronicles of Narnia tried to copy it, like shot for shot almost in some ways. Unable to pull it off.
Yeah, I mean the obviously the worst elements of the Lord of the Rings have been some of the things I've highlighted on a few of these other movies on here, where they feel the needless attempts to like make sure the movie appeals to everyone and includes lots of low-hanging fruit jokes like Gimli pooped himself and oops, Gimli fell off the horse and they count how many murders they do in the fights. There's stuff like that that is like literal prototypes for the type of shitty Disney Marvel humor that has taken over and infected the last 15 or so years of big budget action filmmaking. But that is a very small part of these movies that by and large is used.
Low hanging fruit.
Yeah, low hanging mistletoe. That is there pretty much to just, shore up the length of the battle scenes, which would otherwise be very boring. So it allows them to feel more conclusive. That's like the only criticism I have of these movies, because outside of that, these are masterworks of world building, of juggling multiple storylines, of fantasy storytelling, of adaptation, of scale and of scope. And like you said, nothing has even come close to doing the same. Game of Thrones is the closest thing, and the calamitous cliff that Game of Thrones decided to dive off of head first in a way by aping a lot of the big action scenes of Lord of the Rings, particularly its abhorrently bad 8 sunglasses wearing adaptation of Helm's Deep Battle, which is just brutal and impossible to watch. Yeah, this is an incredible series that feels closer to being a documentary than anything else, in the way that it seriously takes the world building and the dedication to the production design and art direction of all of the little bits and crafts behind the scenes.
That's a great way of explaining it, the documentary aspect. What have you got next?
What is Tato's Precious? Next I have M.
Same. Damn, I thought that I was gonna get you with that one.
Oh, we've pretty much got the same list if my eyes don't deceive me. Pretty much the same.
1931 movie, almost 100 years old. What do you like about it?
This is kind of the precursor to a certain type of filmmaking that I've really only found in, the first half of the 20th century in like Hitchcock's filmography. And Fritz Lang, I mean, has his own mountain of excellent work, and specifically work done in the crime genre, but I think M is the best example of it, rather than the Dr. Mabuse movies and some of his other stuff.
It's a critical aspect of this movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's about a serial murderer of children. And so the cops and the various mobs in the German city that it takes place in decide to all team up to hunt this child murderer down. And it shows what you can accomplish when you get a group of people together, no matter how morally dubious, you can do great things, which was a perfect message to tell the German people in 1931.
Yeah.
Fritz Lang did flee Germany, so it's not, this was not like a pro-fascist movie or anything like that. It's just coincidentally, that type of messaging had a harmful impact on them. But all of that shit aside, psychologically it is excellent. Peter Lorre,
yeah,
is fantastic as this murderer, this serial killer. You find a way to empathize with him over the gangsters that end up catching him, despite the fact that he's a child murderer.
If you haven't seen a lot of old movies, I would strongly recommend this as like a foray into good older films.
Yeah, and Metropolis, which is another great Fritz Lang movie that I have a feeling didn't make it on either of our lists.
I haven't seen it.
Just truly embarrassed. The fact that I have seen it, didn't put it on here is baffling. That you haven't seen it, embarrassed. We failed. We failed as a film podcast. Not enough Fritz Lang.
Listen, our goal is to always get better. There's always room for improvement. If I've learned anything as a teacher, you can always do better next time.
Next time we're gonna do a Fritz Lang episode.
Oh boy. All right. Yeah, that'll actually be good because it'll force me to watch it. I also love this movie. You covered all the bases that I was gonna say though. Super influential. Great shots. Excellent camera movement. The camera techniques really blew me away when I watched it, and I kept being baffled that it came out in literally 1931, which is insane. Mad Max Fury Road I have next.
Mad Max A Fury Road, you say?
Yeah, not
Sorry,
sure.
I don't know why I said it that way.
Yeah, super fun coloration of the movie. Excellent action, amazing cinematography. Is this a Roger Deakins one or no?
Definitely not.
Someone was acting like Roger with the, I guess they probably got that color in post. Roger Deakins is probably, his ears are hurting with him being associated with that movie, but
I
yeah.
don't know about that. Do you mean to say that you just really like the cinematography? I don't.
Yeah, and the lighting, and the coloration, like the orange to yellow blue color. I guess that's not really Roger Deakins.
That's just how Hollywood shoots movies.
Yeah. Charlize Theron obliterates this role, just super good. Tom Hardy, Nicholas Hoult, all sorts of other actors and actresses.
Zoe Kravitz.
Yeah, Zoe Kravitz, in a small role, but she's great. Yeah, good stuff. Super fun. Always a great rewatch, honestly.
Yeah, I mean some of those chase scenes, pretty much from when they leave the Citadel to when the bullet farmer goes nuts without his eyes, is just one nonstop perfected action sequence unlike any other.
Yeah, and the way that the characters move is just so frantic. There's just like so much frantic energy, and it does feel like it's like notched up, like dialed up to like 1.25 speed.
Definitely a cinematography thing.
Yeah.
So just using different frame rates and exposure to make it look like twitchy, kind of like a silent movie. Like, you know how in older movies the frame rates are messed up because some of the cameras, the number of frames in them, there's basically frames missing at times, so the characters can look a lot twitchier.
Yeah, like it looks like it kind of jumps or skips a bit.
Yeah.
Did you have this or no?
No, I did not.
That's a big surprise.
I mean, I had Lord of the Rings. What do you want from me?
Yeah, this is epic action as well.
Yeah, I mean, I would argue that Fury Road is the most consequential action movie of the last 10 years.
What's next?
I've got Magnolia.
Magnolia.
A Paul Thomas Anderson, PTA, has entered the chat.
Wait, this is the first one we've have of his?
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah, we didn't do Boogie Nights.
I don't have this one, but I have seen it. Yeah, we've talked about this before, but why do you have it on your list?
I mean, it's just like an epic movie. It's a great example of Anderson's writing style and his adherence to a certain type of emotional ethos and catharsis. It shows his ability to tackle a lot of different storylines simultaneously to try to just sort of squeeze the maximum amount of catharsis out of these characters that he's written from a ton of very notable actors. who give performances that are not common for who they are, who they were. And it culminates in the great ending. It's long. It's kind of crazy. You could tell Tom Anderson was probably on a lot of cocaine when he wrote it, but that energy kind of soaks into the whole thing and works really well.
Here's a great review from Amaya on Letterboxd. When Tom Cruise yelled "respect the cock," I thought, "Oh, okay, this is going to be fun," and then I cried for 2 hours.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Yeah, I don't know why this movie didn't like make my list or like resonate with me as much. I think honestly I was like kind of I think I was kind of like too analytical when I watched it, just with the shot choices, and I was really caught up with the actors' performances, that I got distracted from the emotional heft of the scenes. But I really need to rewatch this because it's a very impactful piece of movie making, and there are some great directorial choices by PTA in this one.
Yeah, I mean it's a very like freewheeling movie. Like for a 3-hour movie, it asks a lot of its audience patience wise, especially with something that doesn't have a clearly unified story with an A plot and a B plot that moves from, sort of event to event. This happens, therefore this happens, therefore this happens. But yeah.
Let's take a break. We'll come right back. And we're back. Nolan covered Magnolia. I actually have another Paul Thomas Anderson movie, The Master, next. Saw this movie within the past year. Cinematography really blew me away. Loosely based off of L. Ron Hubbard, it seems. And yeah, it's just a really, really interesting thought experiment, I would say, in the form of Joaquin Phoenix's journey. Remarkable shot selection. Really, really excellent. Yeah, there are some great performances in the movie. Now that I think about it, Paul Thomas Anderson kind of has some elements of the Coen brothers. I know we've kind of talked about that in regards to some of his other movies, but this movie has like a lot of scenes that feel like they are in a drama, but then they are like very tongue-in-cheek humor-wise.
Yeah, I mean they both have humor in their films, and their careers do have a lot of overlap.
The Coen brothers are more forward with their humor. I'd say that Paul Thomas Anderson is more understated in his humor.
Yeah, I mean the Coens like will employ pretty much the full range of humor, whereas Paul Thomas Anderson is a little more limited in the type of humor that he usually uses, but he also has several films that are significantly more serious, and the humor within them is bleak and dark in a way that the Coens' humor is not.
Yeah.
I mean, The Master always strikes me as like an exercise in where the direction is so thoroughly perfected and thought out beforehand that it just takes over the editing and the cinematography to a degree where like the pacing of The Master is unlike anything I've ever seen, and I think that's amplified by the soundtrack and sort of pulled along by the strange performance of Joaquin Phoenix.
Did you say strained or strange?
Strange.
Yeah, I think anyone who understands shot selection would obviously enjoy the movie from that perspective.
What do you mean by understands?
Like on a very elementary level, they see something and they're just like, "Oh, that's a good shot," or "That's beautiful." But what I was gonna say is that the plot is a bit all over the place and philosophical as well. So like, if you're going into the movie expecting great plot, then that's not what this movie is going for.
Yeah, I mean it follows a plot pretty strictly. The narrative is just subjectively through Joaquin Phoenix's character's eyes, and so it's influenced entirely by the emotions that he kind of feels along the way.
If anyone is visually observing this, then this is like a reference shot. Like this is the beginning of the movie. Like someone can understand that that's a well orchestrated and set out sort of 1 point perspective overhead shot.
Yeah, this is something it's a series of episodes I've been discussing with Reese that I want to do sometime soon, that discusses the aspects of filmmaking and what we like about them and what works about them and what doesn't. And I think the most important one for us to discuss will be cinematography, because not what you're saying frustrates me to no end, but in general, the conversation around cinematography and what makes good cinematography or good shot selection versus poor shot selection or mediocre cinematography, I think is completely misunderstood and makes up the difference between film illiterate audience goers and film literate audience goers. Not as I don't mean to make this out of I have some sort of hidden knowledge that the average American film goer may not have, but by and large, the difference between something that is a clean image with a deep focus and overproduced hyper real post-production value that you see all across the board with Amazon Prime original dramas or Netflix original movies. Pretty much all of these overproduced, hyper real TV movies that have been splattered across the streaming services, I think fundamentally fail to do cinematography any sort of justice, but they look really nice. And so it sticks in my craw about what is good or otherwise well-produced cinematography. And The Master, any Paul Thomas Anderson movie, is an exercise in restraint for cinematography, and typically the shot selection is so well supported by a stringent directorial vision that helps the editing and the pacing move through, that typically tells a very unique story, and in The Master's case is so off kilter from the average pacing of a drama that would be similar to it that I felt like that was worth mentioning. Because Magnolia is entirely different. Magnolia is like cocaine fueled, so there's a lot of like Scorsese shots of whips and pans and dolly moves, and it's nowhere near as sort of tight and restricted as The Master.
No, I'm glad I'm glad that you shared that. Yeah, I am not purposefully making like a broad sweeping generalization by, oh yeah, excellent shots or excellent cinematography. It's more that I don't necessarily want to get into the granular for every single one of these movies. But yeah, I think you're right that we need to discuss what we mean by cinematography, and then like also breaking that apart more and what makes good cinematography instead of just, oh, that's a great shot, or it made me feel like it was artistic.
Well, yeah, I mean, people are just confused and see Blade Runner 2049 and go, that's good cinematography, that's as good as cinematography can be. And not to say that Roger Deakins' work on that film is not impressive, but it just is nowhere near the best work that he's done, not even for that filmmaker. And I find that the ubiquitous description of good cinematography as being, it is clear and it is in focus and it is a wide landscape shot or something, is just not understanding the use of cinematography in films to guide a story along or to try to support the emotional heft of a film.
Yeah, I would also say that I think I am somewhat failing to articulate my own like resonance with like shot selection and cinematography in some of these movies. It's a lot easier to explain it via images, and then get into the granular, like I was saying, with it. It's like more of like a feeling that you can exercise via academic description. Yeah.
Yeah, but that feeling we have dumbed down as a collective audience because of our over-reliance on watching overproduced streaming service TV movies.
Right. A great example of that is when you're watching one of those overproduced series, which if we put a pin in that, I do want to ask you about what you mean by overproduced. But a great example of that is when you're watching it and there's like a it's taking place in a room and the camera like slowly spins around to like everything in the room. Like that's a very easy technique that's employed in all sorts of Netflix shows that I've seen or movies. And then people will just say, "Oh, that was great cinematography work. Great camera movement."
Well, you ask what I mean by overproduced, and I'll give a long-winded description here, just to be a bastard, man. This is all leading up to my next movie. I assure you, it's all.
Nolan took this opportunity with the movie called The Master of him taking a step back and being like, "Now I'm not a master here, cinematographer, but actually,
I'm not. I'm a bad cinematographer at best."
Go ahead.
Yeah, you left for 15 minutes. We took a pause for like 10, 15 minutes, and now I'm just holding
Who hurt you in that time?
So back in the 1920s, films were all silent. I swear to God, this is going somewhere. 100 years ago, we didn't have sound in films. It's just a silent movie. And so in order to tell your story without intertitles, title cards and things, directors were forced to get more and more creative with cinematography to avoid, blending the worst elements of literature into filmmaking so that cinema could be cinema, its own distinctive language. And the advent of sound coming into films acted as a major disruption to the best directors working at the time, who were on the verge of breaking through and trying to develop cinema as its own language, which I think set the form back an extra 15, 20, 30 years. And the same exact thing has happened with digital filmmaking tools and an over-reliance on computer-generated imagery from the 90s, when the same thing was happening as a group of eclectic, independent non-studio filmmakers began exploding onto the scene. Suddenly, all these new tools came into effect, and they just wiped the whole thing out, and it pushed independent filmmaking to the side. Some of those guys were rolled in, but by and large, then CGI was adopted very, very quickly. Basically, the 2000s were sort of a rocky road amongst the whole thing. But when I say overproduced, I mean an over-reliance on the technology of the day to get in the filmmaker, therefore the artist's way, from creatively trying to employ the form of cinema as its own unique language, and instead relying on technology to lazily tell a story within the confines that you have already created for yourself. So this overproduction is basically just an over-reliance on technology. And the result of that is that all the Netflix movies look exactly the same to me. The shot selection is all the same. The overuse of color correction makes them all look the same. They don't look real anymore. They look hyper real. There's nothing about the way that any of these series or movies is shot that makes me think, wow, there was really some thought put into the direction and cinematography of this. They just slap the camera down right in front of the actor and go, we'll fix it in post. And that can be all well and good, but we're at the point where there will not be a need for filmmaking anymore. There won't be a need for a man with a movie camera to go out and shoot things, because it will all be done on a computer. We don't even need the camera or the actor. We can just generate all the images through CG. And that technology that's so powerful that will basically make any movie functionally an animated movie, a computer-generated movie, will wipe out, the hope of creativity and artistry of filmmaking. It won't necessarily be bad, because it's not like humanity's going to stop telling stories. It's just going to be a very different form. And I think the language of that visual storytelling form is still trapped in the confines of cinematic language, and it is not moving forward. So there's going to need to be some sort of group of rebellious people outside of the studio system who harness the power of basically CGI and AI to tell more interesting stories. Maybe it'll be video games. I imagine it'll be video games. But anyway, that's a long.
I think we need to clip that sound bite, honestly, for sharing somewhere, because that was very prescient, I would say. I don't know why, but it kind of reminds me of my students' reliance on AI and like Grammarly, like because we have this technology now that literally provides it provides a lexicon for the students in live time where they're like writing and then it literally is like, oh, do you want this word next? Or like when you're editing, it will tell them like, oh, here's a bunch of synonyms for this. So then they just like, and I'm not coming at my students, I'm more coming at the technology, the use of the technology. Because if I was a student now, I would be using the same technology, but it's short circuiting the creative system, the creative expression when you have your own sentence and then a bot is just giving you like a selection, like a drop down menu of all these words. And then you choose the word, but then you do that for like any number of words in the sentence. By the time you change that sentence, you've already changed 5 or 6 words in the sentence, and then it's just gobbledygook. And then it's just like a weird, like uncanny valley, basically, sentence that you're operating with that does have some type of meaning, but it's not creative. And it also gets into the way of like whatever the message is that you have for that sentence that you have written now with the assistance of AI that we have. Yeah, basically, like what you're saying is that like the more constraints you have, the more you have to push yourself creatively in order to, I don't want to say make something new, but yeah, to push your own limits, basically. Constraints push your own limits in a strange paradoxical way.
Yeah. So anyway, the next movie I have on my list is Man with a Movie Camera, which is a 1929 silent Soviet meta-narrative documentary. Barely just over an hour long. It is just basically a collage of people and machines going throughout their day and doing normal things in the Soviet Union, particularly in Moscow, Kiev, Odessa, just big cities in the 1920s in Russia, or the Soviet Union at the time. What I like about this movie is it is essentially an exercise in absolute form over content. It does not have a plot. It does not have actors. It is entirely dedicated to pushing forward and highlighting technical elements of cinematography. So this would be like it has a prolific use and a developing use of multiple exposures, fast motion, slow motion, freeze frames, match cuts, jump cuts, montage, Dutch angles, close-ups, tracking shots, reverse shots, stop motion, split screens. It's completely free. It's in the public domain. You can literally watch it anywhere. Highly recommended. It's an hour long. No sound, so you can put whatever Russian music to it you want, or whatever classic music you listen to. But it's a great little movie, and it acts as a good piece of evidence for the thing I was just ranting about.
Yeah.
Which I swear to God I wasn't going to rant about until you said like it's got good shot selection, and it just triggered just some angry person. Yeah.
It's fine. You don't have to defend it.
God damn it,
Because
I'm angry.
you know what I meant by that, but it was triggering because you've heard many people say like classify or categorize a movie using that term as a platitude, basically. And nothing against Blade Runner 2049, but there are a lot of people who masturbate over that movie, and they gotta calm down. I mean, listen, I'm not here to judge anyone by their kinks, but you know, I don't know.
No, Blade Runner 2049 is a good movie that is it features some very striking visual images, which by and large are cut together in a very effective manner to tell a very specific type of story. It's just
That
like,
movie isn't groundbreaking.
no, it's like a run-of-the-mill sequel to a big budget movie that's only famous for its tone and production design. Just like Blade Runner 2049 will probably be in film history. The middle child of a great filmmaker who made better things before and after.
Yeah.
Get wrecked. Big runner to 49. All right, what do you got next? This is
So
a long diversion,
movie,
a bit too much
next
for me.
movie I have is Civil War. No, I'm just kidding. Next movie I have is maybe this will cheer you up. Uh, wait, it's your turn.
I just did Man with a Movie Camera.
Oh shit, yeah, I was gonna mention actually Man with a Movie.
Vertov's Man with a Movie Camera.
Huh? What?
Diska Vertov, the director.
Oh, you were saying a name.
Diska Vertov, yeah.
I thought you were sneezing.
That is racist towards the great Soviet Union and what it once was back in the 1920s before those Nazis ruined.
What I was gonna say about Man with a Movie Camera is that once I do end up watching this, I plan on watching this over the summer actually, and just like going on a oh man, what's it called? Losing words here. I'm not able to do the thing that I am trying to reference doing. Oh, stream of consciousness. I want to do a stream of consciousness of ideas that I just write out, and then I want to actually try to make my own short film that's basically Man with a Movie Camera around North Jersey. So trying to go into various places around North Jersey, maybe New York City as well, creating some one of my own that is going to certainly pale in comparison with Man with a Movie Camera, but that's the goal is to not make a great movie. The goal is to experiment, and if you're going out and shooting a video and with the intention of stitching it together later, then in my mind, for my own goals, that's a win for me. So I'm going to use it as inspiration, basically. So I'm saving it for the summer. Anyway, next movie on my list is Memento.
A memento.
It's not Italian.
It's a me, a memento.
Oh, good God.
Sorry, you unzipped me. I don't know what's happening, but please go on. I don't have memento.
What?
You heard me.
Who am I talking to?
What do you mean?
I thought you loved this movie.
I like it. It's a great movie.
Okay. Yeah, I love the way this movie unfolds, and then the editing, the choice to also start with the end of the movie. The amnesiac works. What else? I like the artistry of Guy Pearce's body being covered in tattoos that signal for him to do something. Yeah, it's a really, really excellent exercise, I would say.
Yeah, so the reason I've cooled off on it over the years, which we did talk about in our Christopher Nolan episode, link in the description below, subscribe, give us money, is that it's like an immaculate screenplay, like a perfectly written screenplay that I think at the time amateur director Christopher Nolan did not necessarily make in the best way humanly possible. I don't know that there's, inherently a way to improve it, because I think the screenplay itself is a masterwork. There's just nothing about the way that it is then made into a film that deeply impresses me. And part of that is, unraveled by the prestige. Once you understand the thing as a whole, it becomes less impressive, even as a masterwork of screenwriting.
Yeah. What have you got next?
Mirror by Andrei Tarkovsky. Another Soviet film. I swear I'm not paid by the Soviets. This is the first Tarkovsky movie I have on the list here. Andrei Tarkovsky was a Soviet director who is known for his extensive use of very long shots, and a pretty rigid adherence to sort of poetic filmmaking. So this movie does not have a clear narrative. It seems to jump around through space and time as a character undergoes process of remembering his life and important moments of it, from the Russian countryside to war to death. It's all over the place. It's a great movie.
I am very much looking forward to the day I sit down and do more of an exploration of Tarkovsky, because I've barely scratched the surface.
He didn't make many movies, unfortunately, or fortunately. They're definitely all worth watching.
Yeah. I have Mulholland Drive next.
Me too. Speaking of the subconscious and memory and dreams.
Yeah, yeah, it's a great exploration. Very haunting, shrieking look at what Hollywood can do to people. Yeah, it's a nice sort of fever dream, you could say as well. It's tough to sort through what is literal and like what is literally happening and what is metaphorically happening, but I don't think it's too difficult to sort through, actually. Excellent, 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 excellent movie.
Mulholland Drive to me is like a film negative of Memento. The screenplay itself is basically just non-existent or gibberish because the story being told within the subconscious of the protagonist's mind is not that interesting. And the mystery of the movie as a mystery movie is you solving the way in which the subconscious dream story that you're watching is trying to lay out the pathology of the woman having the dream.
Yeah.
Which is just great David Lynch mindfuck stuff, which isn't necessarily meant to mess with your head. That's just the way he operates as a storyteller.
That's what I was just going to say, is that I think that this movie is a perfect demonstration of one of the reasons, or one of the things that I will be holding on to as an artist, which is not explaining why I did something in a story. I think that that is actually very valuable and very important to anyone who is trying to do their own thing and trying to make something that is original and far-reaching and transcendent.
David, you've often said that Eraserhead is your most spiritual film. Would you like to comment on that? No.
All right. Moving on. I've got Naked Lunch, directed by David Cronenberg.
Nice choice.
It is based on the novel, I believe, by William S. Burroughs. It is a trip about a man who snorts bug poison and then trips balls and goes on a mystery journey into a underground bug criminal syndicate to get to the bottom of things. It's rather surreal. It does have elements of the quintessential Cronenberg body horror. It's an interesting pseudo-autobiographical tale about William Burroughs that Cronenberg seems to have latched onto and identified with, probably minus the drug use. But it has elements of science fiction, pulpy, hard-boiled detective literature, Cronenberg's own house style of body horror, regular horror.
You know what it kind of reminds me of is The Conformist in some way.
How so?
Kind of like what it culminates to at the end. Like there's all the characters that are like putting pressure on the main character, and then it just kind of like up and ends in a pretty, I don't directly remember the end of this, but I remember it being good, and I also remember it being not happy.
Yeah, say that's true.
Here's a nice review on Letterboxd from Amaya again. I'm not sure why she keeps popping up, but at first I thought, hey, this isn't very Cronenbergian, but then a random character at a bar casually asked our protagonist if he was all right, she spells out this word which rhymes with maggot, beginning with F, then leaned back to reveal a giant humanoid bug monster sitting next to him, and I was like, oh, sure. It's a Kafka high. You feel like a bug.
Yeah, good description.
It is unsettling, but in its unsettling quality, it is enjoyable. My next one is...
Did you have Naked Lunch, by the way?
I did not.
Okay.
I do really like the movie, though. Just is not a favorite of mine. What?
I get all good.
Oh, I thought we were going to fight the next time we saw each other.
Damn fighting words.
The next movie I have is Muppet Treasure Island. It made it. It stayed. I think about this movie far too much for some reason. It may have just been because I watched it too often as a child. It could be that
cabin fever. I've got cabin fever.
It could be that I just liked the fact that when I was in kindergarten, we had like a movie day in the school, and uh, they asked someone. This was when you had like VHSs, right? And we just had the VHS, and so they asked like a kid, like, "Oh, who wants to bring a movie in?" So we all brought movies, and then we voted, and we ended up watching Muppet Treasure Island, which I brought in. So it like, I don't know, maybe it just like I'm nostalgic for that reason that I was able to share it with all the rest of my kindergarten classmates. I just like sharing moments and memories. But no, it's just so much fun. It's just a lot of fun. The music is top notch. It is also a meta movie as well. Like the characters in the movie know they're in a movie, but also are like all the rats are like on vacation.
Yeah,
In
the rats are on a cruise to watch the movie, and then the Rosenstern and Guildenstein Muppets comment on the rats watching the movie. I don't remember those guys' names. I'm sorry, I don't remember the Muppets' names well, but
Yeah, and then they like it is also a musical too because it's a Muppet movie, so characters will just break out in song and dance, and then all of a sudden come to like scenes later, and they're like, "What just happened?" Tim Curry, excellent Long John Silver. My God, so good, so good as a bad guy, but also like a likable bad guy.
choose the scene like no other.
Yeah, his laugh, his eyes,
His singing voice, it's all there.
so good. Jim Hawkins, bad part of the movie.
Literally the reason it couldn't make my list. Can't sing, can't act. He's a fucking wet blanket in an otherwise perfect children's movie with Muppets.
Yeah, I'm not like I'm not a huge Muppets fan nor musical fan, but just love this movie. Don't know why. It also had there was a time where I was obsessed with pirates as a kid because, you know, swashbuckling, fighting, freedom, out on the high seas, adventuring, like just great stuff. I literally have talked more about Muppet Treasure Island than like 40 of the other movies. What do you have next?
Next, I have Network.
Nice. I do not.
This is a 1976 film directed by Sidney Lumet. Features an all-time great monologue by Peter Finch about how we're screwed and we're doomed, and he's mad as hell and he's not going to take it anymore. And then his network heads, played by Faye Dunaway and the napalm for breakfast guy, whose name is escaping me, the Godfather.
Robert Duvall.
Yeah, Duvales.
Oh my God, that pronunciation.
I'm having a problem here. They decide to weaponize his pseudo revolutionary talk and turn it into a successful TV show. Not a single line in his famous monologue has aged poorly. All of the issues of the day in the mid 70s that caused angst are still causing problems today. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. People are running wild in the streets. Nobody anywhere seems to know what to do. We don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime. We'll just sit and watch TV, and they watch TV that is just like this guy, who tell them to be mad, but to not ever do anything about it because they wouldn't know what to tell you to do. And that is an encapsulation of the entire message of the film, which is then stretched out to feature length in a script by Paddy Krzyzewski, who was a great playwright in the mid 20th century. Just a phenomenal movie, really well written, features some good performances by Ned Beatty, Faye Dunaway specifically. Peter Finch, obviously, as the unhinged network show host, is perfect. But it's subversive. It shows the pitfalls of mass media and the ways in which no matter what message is being spread by any individual telecaster, the studio heads will find a way to cheapen it and sell it and make you eat it up. And you'll do nothing about it because you're just too damn busy watching the TV. 50 years ago, nothing changed. All right, what do you got?
Yeah, I like this movie. I forget what other movie you mentioned before, that I said didn't quite resonate with me enough. But yeah, it was a similar thing with this movie. It felt like it was groundbreaking for the time, but then it was just like, yeah, that like I get it. It felt generic to me. Like it didn't feel cheap, but it just felt like very broadly messaged, which is not a critique of the movie. That's more just like how it came across to me. I think upon rewatch, it would mean a bit more. Um, I have Night of the Living Dead up next. George Romero film from 1968. You good over there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I love that it's in black and white. It makes it so much more frightening. Is this his first movie?
Yep.
Wow, good old zombie movie in Pennsylvania.
Yarp.
Excellent shots, amazing practical effects. Makeup is top tier. Very unsettling, like cuts and freeze frames. Yeah, it's awesome. I love the overall ethos of the movie. Yeah, huge fan.
That we're already zombies,
Yeah, and we can't be racist.
or that being racist will destroy us.
Yes. It taking place in Pennsylvania is critical to that message. The old Alabama eye.
Just outside of Pittsburgh.
Yeah, watching this movie like at our cabin in the woods in Pennsylvania also is just amazing because it doesn't take much for you to imagine, the woods crawling with zombies, which is a fun thought experiment and frightening. What do you have next?
Next, I have The Nightingale, 2018 Australian historical horror drama, directed by Jennifer Kent.
Is this your first female director
No, I also had Mary Herron
for American
for
Psycho?
American Psycho.
Okay, just making sure we're checking those woke boxes. Anyway,
we already failed that
why-
utterly and entirely.
Yeah, I know. It's okay. Why do you like this movie?
We're just hateful. It is unrepentantly bleak and refuses to shy away from a very dark period of Australia's history. It is haunting, both in the fact that it has elements of horror and the horror of man, especially the Australian man in the 19th century, which I don't know how much you know about Australian history, but things were not great back then.
Wild West.
Well, so,
and perpetrating violence and rape on the Aborigine.
And all the women around. So that's the plot of the story is a British woman whose husband is murdered by Australian officers flees because she fears for her life. They kill her baby child and then they do what they want to her. So she flees and then hires an Aboriginal man to help her track the captain of this group through the Australian bush to kill him.
Damn.
It's very dark. Every single trigger warning in the world should be applied to this movie. Jennifer Kent is a great director who worked.
I was gonna say I really have to watch more Jennifer Kent.
Fortunately, she has not been prolific yet. As I imagine, being a woman director in Australia who makes extreme movies like this is not, getting tons of work offers. Her more famous film is The Babadook, The Nightingale. I've not talked to too many people about. She also directed an episode of Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities.
I'm seeing that.
One of the two good episodes of that show. But anyway, can't recommend The Nightingale enough if you're down for a bad time. There's no way other way about it. It's not. I suppose it's a vengeance tale, so there's like some biblical satisfaction, but racial violence in Australia and the extinction of the Tasmanian natives and the Black War and the Aboriginal Tasmanian War, I suppose not unlike the American extermination of the indigenous people. Yeah. Anyway, what do you have next?
Speaking of bleak, No Country for Old Men.
Ah, yes, I have that too. Nothing like a little Cormac McCarthy to liven things up here. We can
What?
positive.
Cormac McCarthy was such a positive, joyful man. God is war.
just
Yeah.
just the dance. So anyway.
Yeah. Very, very enjoyable movie to watch. I don't think I could watch this movie enough, to be honest with you. Coen Brothers, just a fun sort of triptych as well, where a guy finds a load of money, which everyone is like, wow, I would love to stumble across money like that. But then it brings about ruin and suffering. Yeah, through the guise of a person who is human, but may represent something more than being a human.
Anton Sugar. Sugar.
Ah, sugar.
Is he dangerous? Dangerous compared to what? The bubonic plague.
It being set in Texas is absolutely essential to its everlasting brilliance.
Why would I go down to Odessa, Texas? Yeah, great movie. We've talked about it before on our Coen Brothers episode, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Don't remember that episode well, but
that's one of our top viewing episodes.
Millions of viewers. You said
not millions, not yet. What's next?
North by Northwest.
Same.
Basically
same.
The same exact movie as No Country for Old Men. A guy accidentally stumbles on a conspiracy, and then he's chased by shadowy forces influenced by corporate overseers.
Yeah, that's true. That is an aspect of No Country for Old Men, because Sugar is hired by a corporation.
I mean, there are literally 8 sequences in No Country for Old Men that are ripped shot for shot out of Hitchcock's filmography. The car cresting over the ridge and then chasing Llewellyn is just taken from North by Northwest. The light scene in the hotel is just ripped straight from Rear Window. The chase scene outside is ripped straight from that one Alfred Hitchcock movie with Paul Newman. Anyway, I don't want to get too bogged down in that. North by Northwest is a great chase movie similar to No Country for Old Men, but far less bleak. Cary Grant runs across the country, and at the end, he dances on Mount Rushmore. It's a really fun time. The villains are a couple of gay guys, which is kind of hateful, but also Hitchcock had a lot of censorship on his films due to the fact that people were prudes back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. And so there is a lot of great psychological undercurrent from his films where he sneaks things in just to be a little bastard man, including the ending of the film where Cary Grant is about to sex the main lady from the film, but it cuts away to a train plowing into the hole in the side of the mountain.
So good. So unbelievable. There's actually a shot like that in a movie I saw last year called Holiday. Seen that?
I don't think so. I know what it is, but
that's actually from 1938, starring Cary Grant and Katharine Hepburn. Yeah. And there's a shot of a train plowing into a mountain. I'm pretty sure it's right after they either go to sleep on the train or something like that. But yeah, it's obvious what that is in reference to. Okay. The next movie I have, I love this movie as well. The next movie I have is Office Space.
I do not have Office Space.
I enjoy this movie a lot. This is probably the only thing that Mike Judge has made that I like, I will say. Yeah. Love the plot. It's pretty referential. It's hilarious.
That means that every day that you see me is the worst day of my life.
Oh, the fact that he's at the job.
Yeah, that's one of the opening scenes is him just saying every day I hate my life more and more, which means every day you see me is the worst day of my life.
I have certainly felt that way working for a corporation. At any rate, yeah, it's a good rebellious movie and it's hilarious. That's why it's on my list, plain and simple.
That's back-to-back not back to back, but another movie with Stephen Root. We got him in here. Peppered through these.
Yeah.
Just a random aside. Yeah, I love Office Space. Just not, I guess, not one of my favorites.
I'm not sorry if you like his other movie. But that
Beavis
other
and
movie.
Butthead.
No, not King of the Hill either. That other movie, Idiocracy.
Beavis and Butthead.
Idiocracy pales in comparison with Office Space. Oh, but it predicts the world so much. It's a bad movie. It's a shit movie.
I'm
Shitty.
dumb. I'm dumb, but I'm smarter than other people. So they must be really dumb. Mike Judge, in a nutshell.
Like, if you like Idiocracy, you need to take a look at yourself to see if you like it because you like feeling smarter than other people. Because honestly, that like you said, that I think is the main ethos of the movie, and it's a dumb one.
I've never seen it. I've never been able to finish it.
I watched it because it was recommended to me like 5 times in the span of a month, and I was like, all right, I'll sit down and watch it, and I gave it a chance, thinking I honestly would have liked it more than I did, or thinking I would have liked it more, and it's not that I hated it, I just don't understand why people like it that much.
I should be the president.
Isn't it funny Terry Crews was president? Yes, it's funny. And then. What do you have next? I don't want to talk about Mike Judge anymore.
I have Old Boy.
So do I.
What's so funny? That's the title in Korean.
Old Boy.
Old Boy.
Go on.
Laugh and the world laughs with you. Cry and you cry alone. A quote near the beginning of Old Boy. A bleak as hell, action-packed revenge horror anime drama. From 2003, directed by Park Chan-wook. This is a masterclass in, I suppose, the revenge drama. It's a part of his Vengeance trilogy, which has 2 oft-maligned or forgotten other films, Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance and Lady Vengeance. But Old Boy is the crowning achievement of the trilogy. An excellent movie with some very memorable and often beloved action scenes, particularly the oneer from the side where he beats a room full of people with a hammer. It is probably also well remembered for its unforgettable ending.
He also eats a live octopus.
He does eat a live octopus, which animal rights people don't like when they do that, but, he was hungry. Choi Min-sik, the lead actor, whose name I just horrifically butchered. My apologies, Mr. Choi, but he's transcendent in this one, able to portray every emotion, all kinds of emotions. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff in here about trauma, memory, bullying, one's role in society, one's role in relationship to their family, duty, failure, and the emptiness of revenge.
It's a fucked up movie, and it is incredible. One can recognize that the movie is messed up, but also love it. I think that's probably I can't add any more to what you said. It's got that grimy, like, turn of the century quality to it, which is perfect. Like, thank God it was made at that time. Yeah, excellent fight scenes, really, really, like, everlasting, emotional, like, beats of the movie with some of the reveals and stuff that happens. Impossible to deny and impossible to forget. Speaking of which, I have Once Upon a Time in the West next.
Same.
Impossible to deny, impossible to forget. Jason Robards, Claudia Cardinal, Charles Bronson, Henry Fonda, all in one movie. If you don't know any of those people that I just mentioned, my God, you need to watch some older movies. This movie came out in 1968 and is Sergio Leone as well. We talked about the spaghetti westerns, talk about excellent shots, those close-ups. We've got trains, we've got undercarriage shots of trains, we've got the railroad coming together. Amazing fight scenes. That's where all this shit comes from. Yeah, its fingerprints are everywhere.
I would argue it is the apex of Sergio Leone's time spent in the spaghetti western, as he makes a perfect opera. It is definitely cinema as opera, as you can tell that the musical scores is integral to the characters and to the environment that they live in, as the story is, and the whole thing just worked. Like the masterwork score by Ennio Morricone, or Ennio
Ennio.
Morricone. Yeah, it's just everything meshes together seamlessly. It's romantic. It's beautiful. It warns against the encroaching, impending weight of modernity as they lay train tracks across the American West. Story is written by Dario Argento and Bernardo Bertolucci, so shout out to those guys who've appeared on our lists already.
Oh, that's right, Dario.
Yeah, he got in there.
God damn it, I gotta watch this again.
Yeah, I regularly watch this about once a year. It's just good stuff. It's a bit long, and some of the weight drags towards the end, especially with some of the slower scenes where they're just kind of chilling and talking about money and stupid plots and things.
There is a lot of romance, but it gets away with it by and large. What have you got next?
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Same.
Just talking about my wife, I'm talking about my life. Can't seem to get that through, you people. Not talking about one person, talking about everybody. Just another great monologue from that guys, just ranting and raving, as they all do in this tragic tale of, what's the dude's name? McMurphy.
I think it's McMurphy.
Based on the novel by Kesey, about a man who just wants to be free, but he's a criminal, so he has to be locked up in a crazy house run by a evil fascist named Nurse Ratched.
Women are bad and evil.
Louise
You
Fletcher.
shouldn't give them power.
That's
what I took away from the film.
pretty sure McMurphy is a pedophile in the movie, but that's
Scatman Crothers is in this. There are some great actors in this. Casually, Christopher Lloyd, Danny DeVito. What's that guy's name? Wormtongue. Who's that?
Brad Dourif.
Bradley Doif.
Brad Dourif. Yeah.
Dourif. Yeah. No, Nurse Ratched is great. Louise Fletcher.
She is a recurring character in Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Recurring antagonist / protagonist.
The one thing I will say about this movie, this is not a knock on the movie. It is simply just to... Have you read the book?
No.
Okay. It is simply just to show the main difference between the movie and the book is that on IMDb, Chief Bromden is the 25th person listed here.
Okay.
Oh, it's in credits order. I mean, Jack Nicholson is also the 23rd person listed here, so that's kind of odd. But Chief, the reason I say that is because the book One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is told from Chief Bromden's perspective. So like that's the big sort of derivation point for this movie. And the movie is actually less bleak than the book, I would say, even though it is pretty bleak. Incredible movie, amazing performances.
You're saying the movie is less bleak than the book?
Yeah, the book is more bleak. It's also way more abstract. What's wrong?
How is the book more bleak? Does the chief not get away at the end?
I don't want to say anything.
Just have to look it up in a few minutes. All right, what do you got next?
You're not going to read the book?
Wasn't planning on reading it.
It's a great book. It's a real quick read.
Really?
Yeah.
320 pages.
What?
320 pages.
Yeah, it's real fast. Can't put it down. I guess he does escape. I just didn't remember that at the end of the book. Anyway, I remember feeling more depressed at the end of the book than the movie. Excellent story.
Maybe that's because at the end
Go ahead.
At the end of the movie, you feel bittersweet that the chief gets away and that music plays. I mean, he's the one that flew over the cuckoo's nest, right? That's the title. That
He did the thing.
Yeah, that's the
Lobotomies are a tough thing to swallow. My next movie is Pan's Labyrinth.
same. It's the same list of movies here.
1944, Spain. A girl is sent to live with her ruthless stepfather in fascist Spain. And there's like guerrilla fighting, uprising, and it explores this time period through the lens of this girl who's experiencing something fantastical, which is very beautiful and also haunting.
Yeah, it's one of those. There's kind of been what was the other one? Beasts of No Nation, a sort of an American pseudo remake ripoff, but it does a really good job of portraying the horror that surrounds a child whose ability to imagine a better world creates the fantastical practical effects of Guillermo del Toro's imagination. And yeah, it's a great movie. I like the practical effects. The story is fine. I think the stepfather character helps sell a lot of it by actually being quite menacing.
What's your next one?
Next one I have is Paprika, 2006 Satoshi Kon animated movie, which is imagine Inception, but it's a mystery and it's animated and it doesn't hack itself in ever.
So it's really, really, really good.
It's really confusing. Like the way that in Inception, it's not necessarily always clear what is a dream and isn't, is like laughable. Where Paprika is like you just keep waking up and being in dreams the entire movie. But since it's animated, the limitation of surreal or otherwise fantastical images has no end.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, I've heard this and Perfect Blue are must-watch pieces of cinema.
I mean, Perfect Blue is like a well-animated Hitchcock movie.
Gotcha.
Paprika is an entirely other thing. Imagination and dreams run wild.
It's on my list and I can't wait to watch it. What number? Sorry, go ahead.
There's also just multiple images stolen directly from Paprika in Inception, which I only note as interesting thing that Christopher Nolan claims to have written Inception well before he made the movie, but it just took some of these ideas.
What number are you on?
97, I think.
Okay. I'm on 100. My next one is Parasite, which
same.
Let's have this one be the last one for today. Going out with a bang on this part. Parasite is a 2019 Bong Joon-ho movie. What's wrong? Is that in the movie?
It's from in the movie. He does that. Then he literally murders him. It's a very consequential one.
I've only seen this movie once, actually. Spectacular ending is all I will say. Yeah, no spoilers.
So metaphor. All right, I'm done spoiling. Done.
It's pretty hard to not get bashed over the head with the metaphors in the movie. Yeah, amazing camera work. Really, really excellent writing as well for like a pretty complicated, complicated maneuvering of characters. It also explores like so many different things: family dynamics, money, status, morality, obviously, like what you're willing to do for those you love and what you're willing to do to move up in society. A lot of good meta commentary for sure.
Yeah, which is all, I mean, obviously it was an international blockbuster hit, so the themes were universal enough to appeal to most people, but quite a bit of it does rigidly adhere to Korean cultural values and the state of the Korean economy and class structure, which is quite evident. And the visual allusions to said class structure are literally bashing you over the head the same way one of the characters bashed in the head with a rock.
We said no spoilers.
I didn't say which character.
Oh, Okay.
I didn't buy him a beer.
He's not taking your turn.
Yeah, Parasite, perfect movie, incredibly well directed. Great achievement by Bong Joon-ho and his entire team of editors, cinematographers, actors. I mean, it basically features like the top of the line of South Korean actors.
All right, you want to take a stop? We'll pick back up in the next part.
Yeah.
Till next time. Adios.
Sayonara.